Pledge of Allegiance, just with allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Okay, before we get started, I'd like to make a couple of comments to get the discussion rolling. Citizen comments rules for tonight. I'm limiting it to 3 minutes. We're going to follow Robert order. Everyone gets a chance to speak one time, and if you want to speak again, you will have you'll have to wait until the second citizen's remarks, which are on the agenda. You'll have your opportunity to come back after the discussion. Be polite, be respectful, and you know, keep your tone down. I know we're all disappointed here that the referendum did not pass. The administration, the staff, and the Board of Education spent many hours creating this budget to present to the Board of Finance that we felt met the needs for adequately educating the needs of the students of the Thompson School District. The Board of Finance cut our requested budget proposal by $1.505 million after the budget proposal was voted down. Are we disappointed? Yes, we are very disappointed. Are we angry? Probably. 29% of the voters in Thompson came out to vote. And actually, that's pretty high for a referendum. Usually it's between 16 and 20%. When they decided the fate of next year's school budget. We go to the referendum again on June 13th. We can only hope that more people will show up to vote and support the schools of the town. Were we a little ambitious at the rate we put out the school budget and the town budget with the mill increase? Yes. But as we presented to the Board of Finance, over the past 10 years, they have funded the school below the inflation rate. They have funded the school below our fixed costs, which are utilities, which are contractual costs, which are pay raises that we're contractually obligated to pay in our union contracts. They continue to erode our school budget by these costs. This year, we presented them a budget which met all those costs, which met our special education costs, and they slashed us anyway. So what can we do? We can get everybody everybody we know out to vote yes. And I can say that as the chair of the Board of Education. Because a no vote, even though you feel the budget is too low, a no vote is interpreted by the Board of Finance that you want the budget lower. That's their mindset. So if you think you're doing well, something good by voting no because you want it higher, it doesn't work that way in this town. And I urge you to take the exit poll and tell them the budget is too low. Even if you vote yes, tell them the budget is too low. So next year, they can get it through their heads that they have got to increase the budget for the school and the town. The town took a tremendous hit too. Tonight, we are going to discuss possible budget cuts to our proposed FY24 budget proposal. By Connecticut State Regulation 10-222, the Board of Education is required to adjust their budget to the amount presented to them by the Board of Finance. In other words, we have to reduce our budget by $1,057,000. That's the number that was given to us by the Board of Finance. It hasn't been voted on yet because we're going to referendum again on June 13th. If the next referendum does not pass, we will be back here again, sharpening our pencils for even deeper cuts. Now, you all got a letter with the proposed cuts. And they are going to hurt. And if we have to come back, they're going to hurt even more. and I don't want to be back here. So please get everybody you know to go out to vote. Okay, so now I will open the floor to citizens' comments. Danielle has a timer, 3 minutes, please.
I have a question for you, Chair.
Yeah.
George O'Neill, 122 Fabian Road, North Grovenordale. And Chair and honorable members of the committee, I have a couple of questions. And again, this is citizens' comments. In a letter dated May 31st, 2023, signed by Ms. Smith, Superintendent of Schools, there's a list of items which you've referenced. During your discussion and deliberations, I would appreciate it if the individuals and or when the discussion comes up that you specify the specific requirement in the statutes where any individual item is required, right? Some are perhaps optional, discretionary, and some are mandated. So if you could be clear on that for those of us that are not necessarily conversant with all the necessary statutes, that's the key thing. Secondly, if you could quantify the amounts on an individual basis that each would be impacted, that would be appreciated as well. So with all due respect, I appreciate if that clarity would be communicated to not only me, but those others that are listening. I can see there's over 50 on the remote dial-in. Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, citizens' comments from the floor here. Okay.
Sorry, let me get my glasses. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Louise Morrison. I come to you today as the president of the Thompson Education Association and a teacher in this district for 22 years. I know you have a list of cuts to the budget, but let me put this into real life for you. A reduction in a preschool teacher means we lose half of our preschool spots, from 42 children being serviced to only 24. 14 of these spots are reserved for children in school readiness programs, which leaves approximately 12 spots for 4-year-olds in the town of Thompson. A reduction in a kindergarten teacher makes class sizes of 6 and 7 in the preschool right now go to class sizes of 14, in essence, doubling the class size without the addition of any other children who did not attend our preschool. Decreasing the hours per day for kindergarten, the other option of half-day kindergarten, would be detrimental to student progress. Under the CCSS, kindergarten students are required to meet specific benchmarks, and only having half the amount of instructional time would not allow students to meet these standards. A reduction of a 1st and 2nd grade teacher makes class sizes go from 16 to 22 children per class. These children are already behind in reading and math, and increasing the class size will mean less individualized instruction. These class sizes do not allow for teachers to be able to work individually with children. As a middle school teacher, I can tell you which class was the first kindergarten class that did not have full-day paraeducators, just from their letter formation. There were other signs, such as a lack of math skills and one-to-one correspondence, and they were lacking their school social skills. And this was 5 years after they had not had a full-day para, a full-time para in the kindergarten. Nothing to do with the teachers, just reducing staff, more kids per teacher. Our custodial staff is excellent, but the day shift crew spends most of their day responding to kids who are sick, spills, bathroom cleanups, and basic cleaning when they get a chance. The loss of an evening custodian will not allow for the facilities to be cleaned appropriately or sanitized. A reduction in the TMS reading teacher is a 50% cut in services, as there's only 2 reading specialists. At present, each teacher serves 2 grades, allowing both pull-out and push-in services in reading. The reduction will allow for only 1 pull-out class per grade level. The loss of the TM, the Mary R. Fisher and Thompson Middle School Library circulation clerk will significantly restrict the use of the library by students. It will also result in the loss of many books because no one will check resources in or out or chase down the unreturned materials. In the elementary school, the students will lose a unified arts class where they have a book read to them, they learn library skills, all of those things. The loss of paraeducators in any school will result in less services for special education students. Imagine being a child in middle or high school who struggles to read. Without the services of a paraeducator who helps you understand material or reads them to you when necessary, these children will struggle even more. The paraeducators in our school are respected by students and staff who know These people will give the children the little extra boosts they need to understand an assignment or assist when a child is struggling.
Okay, thank you. That's basement and the black shirt thing. Okay, state your name and address.
Richard Schultz, I live at Kaczynski Lane in East Thompson. I got here like 2 minutes late. Could you tell me real quick, are we absolutely locked into the $1 million shortfall, like at town level right now?
At this point, yes.
Because we voted no, or is it like we have another chance to vote on that? Okay, because I got the impression that when it goes back to the finance committee, then they would make a decision about what sort of things would be acceptable to the town, not just assume necessarily that everybody wants less or a certain budget, because there are many reasons why people might have said no, other than just reduce budget, or even if they wanted to increase the budget. There are other priorities that people saw in there that they didn't agree with, for example. And then the second question is, when exactly is the vote?
When is the vote? June 13th. June 13th at from 12 to 8. The first question, I really don't know the answer to that.
Well, it had gone back to the Board of Finance and they cut an additional, what, $750,000?
Right.
So they had their chance to cut it by $1 or cut it by $1 million, and they decided the $750,000 that they would cut. They weren't going to add anything back in. So, and if this next one fails, they're probably just going to cut it even more.
Any more comments from the floor? No, one comment. That's it. You'll have a second chance.
Hi.
Yes.
We're just staying over here. There is this guy. Perfect. Here would be great. I prefer not to stand. Kelly Green, 216 Hagstrom Road. I just have a couple of questions regarding the budget.
No, this is comments.
I have a couple comments regarding the budget.
Okay.
A couple things I noticed that compared to Putnam and Woodstock, overall our technology budget is about $300,000 more than both of those schools. And I was just curious as to why we didn't see any cuts in the technology budget, but we are seeing cuts more in the elementary education budgets. And the second comment that I would like to make is more of just a wish list that the way Putnam had prepared their budget is with hyperlinks that lead to descriptions about what each line item is about. And moving forward for future budgets, I feel like it would be helpful if we could do that for ours with hyperlinks to what each line item is about. So for example, on line item 68, where it says HS admin other object, which is a new line item for $35,000. It would be helpful to understand exactly what that's for or what that's going to. So I know there are a lot of line items and it takes you guys quite a while to make this budget. So obviously not for this year, but maybe for future years, we could hyperlink to the line items with descriptions, exactly what they're for, similar to the way Putnam does it.
Okay, we take that under advisement. Any comments from the Zoom audience?
Brian Santos.
Okay, Brian, you're recognized.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, Brian Santos, 77 Hagstrom Road. Good evening. I'm sorry I was unable to make it in person tonight. I have a business event that I need to attend, but during the few recent board finance meetings, I spoke and noted to them that having the mindset of funding the bare minimum and setting the goal of ensuring the mill rate stays as level as possible is completely wrong. And evaluating certain budgets based on a quote unquote feeling is unprofessional. And in my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, illegal. I also noted that unfortunately for our community, misguidance of critical information is infecting and seriously impeding this town's revitalization and will eventually lead to its going out of business status for both the town and the school. And I know some people are trying very hard to help correct the publicly shared misguidance and or misconceptions, but until collective town school initiative is developed to correct the situation, the misguidance and or misconceptions will continue, unfortunately. Ladies and gentlemen, I own and operate a large construction business, and business decisions are made by sound logic and fact. Feelings do not have anything to do with it. If you make a business decision without sound logic or fact and solely on feelings, you will eventually go out of business. In addition, our school is one of the largest businesses with around 90 staff members living in Thompson, and with the recent budget cuts will likely be forcing a Thompson resident into unemployment. At the last Board of Finance meeting, the Board of Education budget discussed briefly at the tail end of the meeting, where I only remember one question being asked of the school superintendent. And that question was, and I quote, "What is the superintendent's reaction to the additional $750,000 budget cut due to the school?" And the school superintendent replied that the school is already in a deficit with special education. She cannot maintain the program and classes that are required, and it will have a devastating impact to the district's educational services. The Board of Finance asked no additional questions and proceeded to cut the budget an additional $750,000, totaling $1,057,110 without any regard to the superintendent's comment. I found the situation unacceptable and, most importantly, illegal. Our school has a legal responsibility to provide education to our students, and the school has the right to take legal action against the town Board of Finance when items, and I quote, "are matters within the sound discretion of the Board of Education under General Statute 10-220. The Board of Finance continues to make decisions based on feelings that thought process has to come to an end now. Board of Education members, ladies, gentlemen, students, staff, and visitors, this is a defining moment for our community. The choices that you make today are going to set the course for the school now and into the future. Our students are suffering. They require proper guidance and have educational needs. But most importantly, our students are worth it, and immediate action is required. The bottom line is the reduction of the school's budget made by the Board of Finance was not made of sound logic, and that is unacceptable to our students, staff, and community. I encourage you to move to executive session and to do something about it. Thank you.
Yes. Hi, Carolyn Martineau, 77 Letman Road. I also work at the elementary school, to be fully transparent. I just would like to clarify something that we said. I calculated today, and where we stand right now, you're looking at kindergarten class sizes of a minimum of 21 going into the summer with 3 classes. We historically get a minimum of 10 to 15 additional students that register over the summer, which will push us over our limit for our NIAC accreditation. There's no getting around that. It's a fact. And moving kindergarten to half day to say that that is going to push parents is an understatement, because I have a child in daycare, and I can tell you in Thompson, I believe we have 1 daycare that will take part-time students. So now you're talking about students that are going to have parents that are going to have to make the difficult choice of whether or not they're going to work or they are going to lose their jobs. Thank you.
Brittany Charbonneau, 56 Juliet Avenue. Not good at public speaking, so sorry guys. As a parent of a middle schooler who came home crying today, afraid that sports are going to get cut. We've been here before with the whole sports thing. It's frustrating that we're here again. I also have a daughter that's going to be going into kindergarten. It's incredibly frustrating. I appreciate everybody on this board and otherwise who has really been helping try to drive everybody to pay attention. I know on Zoom and here, there's probably a lot of parents who haven't been paying attention because they have young kids and they don't know. This has been constant for the last couple of years, watching them just completely cut and cut. You have to pay attention. It's going to keep happening. Pay attention to your Board of Finance members. Pay attention to the things that are happening in the town. We want to be proud of this town, and we need help from the parents to be involved, to pay attention. And sorry, I told you I'm not gonna. But just pay attention, do what you can. We need that sense of community to drive toward the school. We have to talk about it. I feel like everybody has something to say, and it really should be, what can we do to better support the school? So, yeah. All right,
All right.
Any further citizens' comments? Yes.
Cole County 125 Capitolic Road. This is actually one of the first meetings that I've been to. I'm speaking on behalf of all of the young elementary kids, including my own, who is in preschool under special education. My son started he came here through early intervention. He has done 2 years in the preschool half day. I cannot speak highly enough of the teachers who have been able to do one-on-one time. He started here completely nonverbal, and the one-on-one time that he has got has made tremendous progress. With that being said, he will be doing a 3rd year of preschool next year, or is intended to, with the intent to do a full day program. Moving forward, I don't think that he is going to make the progress that he needs, especially in a kindergarten half-day program. And I'm speaking of all of the parents, who have kids that are that young and special education. As a pediatric ER nurse, I know that the earlier you intervene, the better progress you have. So cutting these kids the services that they need at a younger age, you're setting them up for failure. I have fought for my 4-year-old foot in hand as hard as I could to get him where he is on an IEP at age 4. To set him up for success so he never falls behind. And I feel like all of that is coming to an end now, because now the school system is setting him up for failure. The one-on-one that he gets in the preschool setting, to 7 kids, he has made so much progress. And by cutting a paraprofessional and increasing the class size, my son will fall behind and he will drown in these classes. And I feel like, at a 4, 5, 6-year-old, you're absolutely setting them up for failure. And I don't feel like that's the appropriate way is to cut the lower elementary classes.
Can I make a comment, please? We're on your side. Believe me, we disagree with everything that's happened. But I kind of take exception when you say the school system's setting them up for failure. It's not us. We don't want this. We want all of that $1 million back. This is not anything that we hoped for. We presented a budget that would work for everyone. I agree with you 100%. I had a special ed child myself. It's so important to identify them early. And all of these cuts affect all of the most vulnerable kids. I'm against all of it, but I don't know what to do. We have to cut $1 million. I don't know what to do, and I don't want to vote on anything tonight. But this is wrong. This is absolutely wrong. And all of those Board of Finance members that voted this way should be voted out. We need people that support the school, support our teachers, support our kids. We're on your side, believe me. We don't want to see any of this. And I've been on this board for over 20 years, and it's killing me every year. It gets worse and worse and worse. This is unacceptable. It's totally unacceptable. But really, we're on your side.
I want to recognize Superintendent Smith. She has a letter from a student that she would like to put in a citizen's comment.
Tara Heffernan couldn't be here this evening, but she asked that I read this in her place. Hello, my name is Tara Heffernan, and I live at 11 Quaddock Road, Thompson, Connecticut. I am known as a Board of Liaison right now, but I'm coming to the board as a student, a citizen, and a voice for those who can't be here tonight. I would like to apologize that I personally couldn't make it to the meeting tonight due to work, but I need my voice and the voices of the students to be heard. The Thompson Public School System is needing help passing our budget for the 2023-2024 school year. As some of you may have known, this is going to be my senior year. As of right now, multiple teaching positions, events, athletic teams are being cut since our first attempt at our budget was rejected. I have been in the school system since preschool, which now has been 13 years. I have spent my childhood within these buildings throughout the good and the bad, but our school system deserves to be a top priority. We are the future of America. We are the voices you will hear one day and should be hearing right now. We deserve a chance. Thompson is small and we are a tightly knit community. Our school system is right in the middle of it all. We as students, children, and leaders deserve a good education and a school to call home. Every single child in our school system should be able to express themselves, whether it be in art, music, sports, academics, or in numerous clubs that we offer at the moment. But the numerous concerts, events, car shows, community building activities, and so many other aspects that show a part of the school and who we are could easily disappear. If we don't take action and vote yes for our school budget, not only is this detrimental to our education, but also our mental health. We as students rely on those classes that will let us express ourselves and give us a break to be ourselves. If we lose, those kids will move away and the community that we all love will disappear. Please vote yes on our upcoming budget because we as students in your future rely on you right now. We need every parent of every kid in Thompson Public Schools to be our voice and vote for our school. We rely on you, I've really emphasized, to be there for us. You send your kids to Thompson and trust this school with their education. Please take action on behalf of your kids who don't have the opportunity to speak and vote for themselves. Tara, have a minute.
Pete Beck, 685 Fabian Road. I'm also an IT director of an education nonprofit. I'd like to take up Mrs. Smith's offer months ago on what to cut and where we can get money to properly fund our schools. I'd like to suggest that we take a look at the 500,000 for the security doors and get that put into the general education budget. That's an enormous amount of money to spend on unnecessary security features. Waiting a year or two on these doors is not the end of the world. Even the esteemed Mr. Santos, who we just heard from, presenter at the town meeting for these very doors, does acknowledge them as being unnecessary, stating that proper security measures are currently in place, period, his emphasis outlined. That was about 52 minutes into the referendum. I can hear folks saying that we can't just do that because we voted for it, put that money. But to that point, I have a couple things to add. Point one, it isn't too late to repurpose it. We need to move mountains to do so, or just have another vote on it. We obviously need to do it. After seeing cuts that are being offered up, I think that most people in this town would agree. 24 kids in a class is bedlam. No one's going to learn anything like that. Second point, either way, we should be putting these doors on hold as it is frivolous to be purchasing them with money with this money when we're so strained. The next, another couple $100,000 could easily be taken from the technology budget. It looks from the budget like we are employing 4 or so people as techs at the school. I know that there are larger public schools with a director and just 2 staff under that. They are making out just fine. If you find that the workload would be really burdensome for tech staff, frankly, either way, I recommend taking those Chromebooks out of the elementary school entirely. I had one child go through with the Chromebooks and one without, and we have not found them to be helpful in any way. All this focus on technology has been detrimental to their dexterity, and those software programs are almost a complete waste of time. Fine motor skills are severely lacking. It's just pushing their mouse around is not getting them the fingerprints they need for proper development. Also, these kids do not need to be sitting in front of screens during class time. The only thing many of them do after school is sit in front of these screens. By 4th grade, with or without computers in most schools, most of them can run rings around the parents on these computers, whether or not they have them in class. There's plenty of time later in the schooling to develop computer skills if they are found to be lacking. That should free up plenty of resources and even save a bit more. And our tech staff can focus their efforts on staff and the other students. Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, Sarah Eddy, 9 Fabian Woodstock Road.
My husband and I are business owners in town. We try hard every day to get back to the community whenever we can. I stand like between two of his best girlfriends in childhood because they stayed in this town and they continue to raise their kids in this town. I married into this town and we live in the house that he grew up in. I hope to continue that and our kids continue doing the same thing for their generation too. Speaking to kind of a lot of what everyone has said, but specifically you and you in the front, with just the needs of what our kids need, and the misunderstanding, I think, of when the original budget was passed. Like, I want to touch on that. What is it? The exit poll? I don't know that anyone knew what that was. I never walked over to that tent. The guy was on his cell phone the entire time anybody was there. So make that, if that's important, then we need to know about it. I know that you guys put a lot of effort into this budget and writing all of that stuff out, but it's impossible to ask questions about what that stuff is if it's not presented in a way that's user-friendly to understand. Is there a way that someone, like anyone, I'm happy to do it myself, but can we file a motion to redo the explaining of this budget that was already presented and go at it again so that everyone comes to terms with what's actually being done? Is that a possibility?
Well, we did have budget workshops that you could have attended.
Who knew about that? Did anybody in this room know about that?
Yes. They were posted on the.
I work from home and I happily would have gone to that. I mean,
they're in January and in February. They're posted on the school website. And that's where we go through the budget for the school. Yes.
Well, one thing to mention is that if you are not knowledgeable about what's happening in town, I urge you to go to the town website and subscribe to their email alerts. And you can choose what you want to know about. If you want to know about votes, if you want to know about Board of Ed meetings, if you want to know about Board of Finance, you can select what you want. Maybe you want to learn about all of it. And you can just say, I want an email to tell me that there's a Board of Ed meeting tomorrow.
But I can't,
and you will get that.
That's the thing. So like, I want this stuff spoon fed to me. Like, I want to be able to look at all of these things in my hand and online and understand what these line items are. And I'm not arguing with you.
No.
I'm not arguing with you.
One other thing to note is that all of our meetings are online. You can do it by Zoom from the comfort of your home. You can also watch them after the fact. You can watch them after the fact. Instead of watching Netflix, watch a Board of Ed meeting.
Yeah,
you can do it at your leisure. You can do it at your leisure. The parents need to have a stake in the game. You can't just throw your hands up and not be a participant.
I'm asking to participate, but I'm asking it for it to be easier to participate in that and to learn about what questions I should be asking and what other parents need to know about. Like, I mean, I can't even begin to try to figure out how many parents are actually in this town and how many of them didn't vote.
So Sarah, to answer one of your questions, we've tried multiple times to get messages out to parents, only to be attempted to be sued because for freedom of information. We can't solicit, we can't put anything in your children's lunch boxes and send home anymore like we used to, because we do have naysayers in this town that come after us.
So
that is a fact.
Groups, though, if you want to meet up, I can give them to you.
Please do.
So
okay.
all those, all those meetings.
Like, is that
so we used to use one call. Okay,
yeah.
We can't use one call anymore, even though it's funded by the PTO. We are so restricted as a board as to what we can say and can't say that it's ridiculous. But there's people out there that are on that screen right now, and if I could call out his name, I would.
We know who you're talking about.
That are so gung-ho to come after us. And I'm sorry, but that whole group is going to kill this town.
But having said that, we need more participation.
We do.
And if there's something that we can do to make it easier, and Miss Green had a perfect thing, right, with the hyperlinks and all, and that's the kind of information we need.
Correct.
To make it easier so that people can understand and get involved. And not everybody can come to Board of Ed meetings, and not everybody can watch it on Zoom. Everybody's got lives and kids and jobs and stuff, but we do need participation. So don't stop suggesting stuff. Don't get discouraged.
Yeah, don't.
And if you need something, any one of us, all of our phone numbers and emails are online, but call the superintendent's office. Any information that we have is open to the public. We're happily given. We're happily. We want any kind of support. And if you disagree with us, tell us you disagree with us. That's what it's got to be.
Yeah, my email, all of our emails, our telephone numbers are online. Just email us with any questions you have. And Heather had a great idea. Sign up for the notifications on the town website. You'll get all the meetings, notifications of every town meeting when they're happening. And you can go to those. So you won't miss any town meetings that you choose to go to. And the agendas are on there. Our agendas are on the school website with the Zoom link. And if you have any questions about the budgets at any time or about anything, feel free to email any of us.
Also, I'll ask it again. Can we file a motion to go again for the same budget?
No.
I really don't know the answer to that.
I don't think
that's
so.
a legal question, and I don't think so, unless you want to, I don't know the answer.
It's been accepted by the Board of Selectmen. The referendum date has been set.
Right.
So there's really, I don't think there's anything we can do at this point.
Right.
So if this budget
There
passes,
might be
we're
some
saying
recall.
about half a dozen teachers and professionals.
I'll say that again.
So if this budget passes, we're just saying goodbye to half a dozen teachers and professionals.
We don't know what we're choosing yet, but it's gonna be $1 million.
We have to cut $1 million regardless.
But it has to come in that way.
No. And that's why I don't want any vote taken tonight, because I want more information. I want to know what our options are. I don't want to go personally and sue the town and sue the Board of Finance.
I do.
But it's, but it's an option. It's something. I mean, we all live in the same town. We're right. You know, we see each other at the dump and at LBs and stuff. I don't want to have bad feelings between boards, because then we'll never ever get anything, right? But let's explore all of our options. And if a legal option is part of it, then that's what I want to pursue. But we cannot live with all these cuts. We can't.
But we also only have 2 weeks to figure that out. So
No, we don't.
No.
We don't. These are suggested cuts. We are mandated, nothing on here is a mandated cost, to answer George's question. We are mandated to cover special ed costs. Right? Nothing here affects special ed.
except a larger class size.
Yes. Yeah. Special ed, nothing on here affects special ed. If you read your letter, nothing affects special ed because we are mandated to cover those costs. Unfortunately, what we do affect is some sports, not taking away sports per se, but the late bus that would take the afternoon practice kids home. You'd have to supply your own transportation. We are taking away some supplies. So, these things are going to hurt. But nothing is mandated. Class sizes are not mandated. I think there is recommendations as to class sizes, but they're not mandated.
I didn't say they were mandated. I meant for our NIAX.
Right, I understand the lower, yes, I understand. And there was a time when we took away the paras, and we do see the ramifications of it in the middle school today. That's why we put the paras back. So there are no mandated cuts or recommendations for cutting. But they're going to hurt as far as I will get to you one minute. Okay.
I'm Nancy Redding, 496 Watertown Road in Thompson. You mentioned the after school bus.
Yep.
The after school bus also services children that stay after school, right, for services as well, or are they not using the bus? Is it only athletic students that are using the after school bus?
Athletic students, I don't think.
So the late bus also runs when we had our math lab at the elementary school. I took those children home. After school programs, a lot of those were funded through the federal ARP and ESSER 2 money. Those programs are not even in the budget for next year. So those are, you know, for the elementary kids, those programs won't exist next year regardless. So
you're saying there's no after school learning that goes on, that the kids take that bus anymore, it's only students?
Not in next year's budget. But for the middle and high school kids, it will impact them.
And there was a vote, and pardon my ignorance, but there was a vote to replace the track, which we desperately need to do. And there was a lot of money apportioned for that. Is that money still in the budget?
The budget, that money is not even in this budget.
Right.
It's not completely separate capital project.
Bond.
Right.
And so that money, none of that money is coming from the same financial backing that, so it's a separate capital project.
That's a town project. It's not a school project.
Yes, Matt.
So everybody's sitting here, standing here, who's looked at the budget, even if today was the first time you've looked at this budget, you are already ahead of most of our Board of Finance. They don't look at it, they don't care, they just see a number, they see how much the bill rate's gonna be affected, and they just don't want that. So I appreciate, I'm speaking for myself, appreciate everybody who cares, even if it's just for today that you just noticed. And you know, keep caring, keep noticing, and keep looking at these line items, even if you don't understand all of it. And the hyperlinks are an excellent idea. That probably takes somebody, you know, somebody's gonna have to be paid to do that. But like I said, you're already ahead. How many people are on the Board of Finance? 6? You're probably already ahead of 4 of those people. So thank you for that effort.
Yes, Ben.
So you're right, Matt. And the other thing is, you got to think not just about this budget, but think about your town. I've lived in town 61 years. And I can tell you, being on the board here for 5.5, nearly 6 years, it is hard to see, exactly like Bill said, that we're going to cut a school budget $1 million. I served on the committee that set up Portrait of a Graduate. For me, when I think about Portrait of the Graduate, what our strategy is for this school and every student that graduates, we're not going to meet them, those needs, cutting this budget by $1 million. But you also have to recognize something else. This town is faltering. It's been faltering. We pull in no income. We have no money. And we have 6 people. I won't include all of them. There are 2 that I'll exclude. One will be Kathleen's husband because he's connected to the Board of Ed. Mr. Gillott, I was impressed with him because about 4 months ago when we started things, I invited the Board of Finance to come and see the school. The school today is not like school 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. It's very different, it's complex. Mr. Gillott, his children went to school here. Your siblings went to school here. Your dad commented on the fact that he was shocked how different school was from when his children were there. I don't believe any of the other 4 have had any vested interest with either children in the school now. Now there is one. He himself was an administrator. He himself taught here. He himself had his kids go here. He himself had his grandkids go here. And now a lot of people have the mindset that because my kids are done, my grandkids are done, I don't have a vested interest. So then I should not have to pay anything for it. So they cut and cut and cut and cut.
Let's try to figure that out.
And so I want you to think about something else. Our town does not have an economic plan. It hasn't had one for a long time. There is no, you want to take 200,000, forget about a resident trooper. Put it into an urban plan, someone that's going to come in from afar that's green, that doesn't know our area, assess it and say, this is what you need to do. You need a 10-year plan. We have no money coming in. So what happens? You have the Board of Finance. They never talk. They never come to our meetings. They only talk amongst themselves. There's 6 of them. They're making all the decisions for our school and our town. I give credit to Amy. She's reached out that olive branch to us. She's partnered with us. She wants to do great things with us. And she too is held by the Board of Finance. How can we, as a town of nearly 9 or 10,000, put all of our decision-making in the hands of 6 people? So if you want to do something, don't vote them in come November. Get new people. You yourselves run. You yourselves get involved in these boards. Don't wait till the last minute. We sit here year after year and we've done nothing but cut. And why do we cut? Because we have no money. But yet we have to provide the services. The biggest expense probably is special ed. We're also a border community. Parents get divorced. Kid wants to live with the parent in Connecticut, not Mass. We got better services. What do we get? 5 more in addition through the year, maybe? We got an added 5 more special ed kids coming through. If we say budget for 20, we on average maybe get 4 or 5 coming through within the year.
Oh, that require out of district services?
Yeah.
Oh, certainly.
At what, 80,000 minimum?
Minimum.
How do you make up in the middle of the year? $500,000. So we don't have the money. We are at bare minimums. And I can tell you, as somebody that serves on the United Services Board, mental health right now is a huge issue for children. Huge. So you go from 16 kids to 22 or 24, there's not going to be much teaching done in a classroom. You're going to have kids that need special needs. Number one, COVID did it, but other things within the community did too. We're a low economic performing community. We don't have a lot of money. A lot of people live here. Why? It's a nice place to live. We like it, but we don't have the money coming in economically within our economic development. I'm sorry, I have nothing against the person running that, but the little buildings along the river should come after we have this big picture already set in place, which is a big picture. The mill has sat empty for over 10 years. They've invested in the guy that is doing the mill. He's done 4 or 5 others. He's sucking all the brownfields grants and nothing's being done. I think he's done 1 project down the south. We have to make some decisions that are going to be long-term. We need a goal and we need to work at them as a community, because otherwise we are not going to be a town and we are not going to have the community spirit that we normally have. You start cutting kids' sports, it is not a good thing. Some kids rely on that stuff. They really need that. So I urge you, change the way things have been done for the last 20 years with the same people making the big decisions for your school and your town. And I include in that the fire departments. These are all volunteer. Their budgets are cut in minimum too, and they're trying to provide services for us. So think about the services that you want for your town. You're not going to get them unless you get real change. And putting real change forward means you change the people making the decisions for a large group with just a handful of 6 people. You have to have a vested interest in the school. I also would put it forth 4 times a year. Town of Thompson, the administration, school, board of finance, and fire departments meet at a roundtable discussion. So everyone's on the same page. We get none of the board of finance people other than 1 that comes to our meetings when we do budget. How are they ever going to know what's going on if you don't attend those meetings? You just arbitrarily start whacking things away. You have no vested interest in it because your kids aren't in the school and you're putting actually the elderly more important. And I get the elderly, but I did the demographics on the elderly. The elderly, you got to remember, elderly, a lot of them don't have mortgages anymore. So yes, they are, and they get subsidized things. And there's programs out there for them to get help. But our school system, I think, sometimes when we do so much with grants, I think it makes the board of finance think, oh, they'll get the money some other way. Well, it takes a lot of time for her to do the grants, and all the other teachers that do grants to get money. It's a lot of work. If you've ever applied for a grant, it is not an easy thing. It takes time. But we are also now an underperforming district. And we need to do better for our kids. I sit on this board. My kids are grown. I sit on this board because I was one of those kids living in the Greek village, the middle child of 9. And if it wasn't for the town people at that time that had a vested interest and built a middle school and built some of the programs, some of the athletic programs, that's all we had. We didn't have the stuff that we have today, but kids are really lacking. And if we don't change it, your kids are going to falter. People are going to leave the area. The young professionals that have families, they're going to leave. They're going to go to another town. We don't want you to leave. What I want as a Town of Thompson member, resident, I want you to get involved and make that change happen. Force the change to happen. Don't vote in the same people. Vote in people that carry forth great ideas and they're looking to the future. push for an urban planner to come in and assess this town and set it in motion. In 1970, they had a huge plan to put in a very nice industrial park that could have supplied. And I don't want a lot of industry in here, like you, I don't get. But in 1970, they had the plans ready, set to go. Voted down, voted down. The first school, that school over there, came as a gift to the town. It was a rich family that donated it. And ever since that time, people think education should become something gifted to them. No, we have to work at it. We need to work for it. So I urge you, please get involved so that your kids have a better way. We've all probably in this room suffered loss. You know what the worst loss is? When you have a potential mind that can't grow and become something that you want it to be. That's all.
Danielle Carlson, I do want to apologize. I ran a little bit late. We had a big delivery come in at my job, and I do apologize, but I was on Zoom and I was listening to everybody speak. A few things that I would like to say is that we worked really hard on this budget, and we worked really hard to present it in ways to the Board of Finance, because they are the towns. They run the town's paycheck. They're the ones that run how we fund this town. And we worked really, really hard and diligently in telling them, if you make any cuts, this is what's going to happen. Knowing full-heartedly we were running on a shoestring budget. And we hours upon hours and days upon days. But I need you to understand, you have 3 board members that have kids in the school system. So we have to ourselves possibly cut our own kids' funding. It gutted us when we found out that we all looked at each other and we were just in silence. And I'm gonna tear up because it gutted us to know what was gonna happen. And we had no choice. We fought and we thought we presented everything we needed to this Board of Finance. They could have just said, you know what, that didn't pass. Let's cut you $10,000 and let's try this again. Let's see what we can read. But they didn't, they went right to a certain mill rate. They had in mind what they wanted, and they do not care what we have to do to get to that mill rate. They put us in a terrible, terrible position. They're negligent, and I'm all for, you know, let's just go through and run as we run, and we send them a check. That's where I'm at personally, but I know that there's some legality stuff. But, you know, like, I get it. Like, nobody should have to lose their job because 6 people are negligent. No kids should have to be in bigger schools because 6 people are negligent. Excuse me. Yeah. Five, sorry. Yeah. 5 people. No, it's a board, a majority of a board. A majority of a board being negligent has put us in this terrible situation. And I understand your guys' frustrations. I'm frustrated too. As a parent, as a taxpayer, I'm frustrated because it affects my kids, it affects your kids, it affects all our kids. So I want you to know that we're here for you and we tried hard, but we got to take any information we can get from you guys, like Sarah's point of how do we get to the parents? Do we have a beginning of the year school assembly where we explain what the budget is, what the budget, you know, we're not swindling a vote, but some parents don't even know that this is how the school's funded and operated. Do we have to have a beginning of the year assembly when preschoolers come in, kindergartners come in, whatever it may be? We got to get this information as to why we didn't have a lot of parent voters. And that's what we need. Because next year we're coming back at this and we're going to try again. We're not backing down, but you know, this is not on us. We did our best. This was a majority of a board that runs the path that wanted a certain mill rate and does not care the ramifications of it because they don't want their taxes to go up.
Right. Kathleen, the chair here, we were out at the transfer station 2 Saturdays in a row, handing out pamphlets, handouts. We had vote yes signs. We were out there. We were on Facebook, on multiple platforms on Facebook. We did everything we could, thanks to Heather with her wonderful graphics, to get the word out, to go out and vote. Yet 34% of the staff here,
37.
Well, no, I thought you
no,
were
no, 37.
37% of the staff here that work and live in town did not vote.
Fire all of that.
Well, I don't know what they're, you
And
know, I can't.
I mean, we looked through the entire voter rolls to see who did vote. And many of the parents did not. An alarming amount of parents did not. So
Well,
if there's
sad.
one job here, it is to tell every single one of your parent friends at any play group or sporting event or activity to get them and their spouse and any of their adult children to vote, because there's 900 students in this school. If every single parent, both spouses and adult children and grandparents and aunts and cousins all voted, this would have passed. We wouldn't be here right now, but they didn't. So this is where we're at. So one job that you guys have to do is convey it to your family and friend networks to make sure this budget has to pass. We can't be here again.
Can I just ask, when are these projected budget cuts, like when are they finalized? Is there like a date?
When the budget actually passes.
And that is
July, whatever.
Hopefully.
June.
One year went into December, so.
June
One year
13th.
went into December.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Amy St. Ange, I'll recognize her, our first select person. Amy?
Yes, thank you. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, you're fine.
All right. I'm grateful for Heather and Kathleen for pointing out that this really isn't just about the Board of Finance. I will say that I'm appalled that a board is chastising another board. The vote was 2-1, more than 2-1, in favor of rejecting the budget that we put forth in good faith. And although it wasn't unanimous, the Board of Finance did push forward a 2.81 mil increase. And what we learned from this test is that the public still doesn't want that big of an increase. The problem though, like Heather pointed out, is that so many people did not come out to vote, to exercise their right to vote. It is the fault of the voters. It is not the fault of the Board of Finance. They answered the call of the people that did come out to vote. Shame on the public that did not have the wherewithal to get out of their house and come out and vote. And that's where it solely lies. It doesn't lie on the Board of Finance. We still have nearly a 1 mil increase, which is, in past years, we know that gets shot down as well. So we are at a critical point. If this budget fails again, I'm ready to propose drastic cuts to the town side. It's not just the Board of Education side that got cut. The town took serious hits, and I'm ready to sacrifice again to give the people what they want. And I know the town can absorb it. It means that roads don't get done and parks don't get mowed and infrastructure doesn't get improved. And it's the same old story, but the fault lies with the apathy of our voters, the apathy of our residents. That's where the change needs to occur. And that's just the way I see it. The silent majority is continuing to go silent, while the people that are loudest, that don't want to pay anything extra in taxes, are running this town. It is not the Board of Finance running the town. It is the loud naysayers that are having their way, and we're just giving it to them. So that's just my plea. I just ask that anybody that's in this meeting, you call your friends, you call your family, you call your neighbors, you call everybody you know, and you make sure they come out to vote yes, because there is still a chance this budget fails. And shame on us if it does. Shame on all of us that are in this meeting right now if it does.
Thank you, Amy. Christine DeRocha.
Hi, I'm Christy DeRocher. I live at 5 Fernwood Avenue in Thompson. And I'm a senior citizen. I'm 72 and a half years old. I've lived a long time in this town, and I appreciate all the work that so many people have been working so hard on this. And I've heard a lot of great things said tonight, a lot of good ideas as far as educating parents a little more. But I really agree with that. Get out the vote, because I looked at the voting results and how many people are in town. And I'm thinking, if we subtract the people who voted for this budget against the ones who didn't, it was what, 800 people? So 800 people caused this whole budget to fail. And like someone said, the fact that we didn't, if we had everybody out here voting, if we had parents voting, I think it would make such a difference. And so I agree. I also agree very much with the people who are saying that I support, and so do they, this Board of Education doing whatever legal pathway it has to do the job that it needs to get done and is obligated in many ways to do for our students. And I heard someone else say, and I agree with this as well, we as voters need to look at the Board of Finance. If they're not listening, if they're not doing what we want them to do next election, we need to pay attention to who that is and vote them out. Our schools are our town. We're not a town without our school, really. So it's really important. It offers a lot of services. I've seen some great programs. I went to a great speech given by our athletic director there at Junior Honor Society. It's a great place for our community to get together and see what our kids are doing. And our kids are our most important resource here. They really, our town is important, our kids are important, and we have to do whatever we have to do to get the job done, because it matters. And so again, I want to thank all of you people who have worked really hard on this. And I hope this time we pass it, but I also hope that we make our voice heard, because I don't think we're happy. I know we're not happy with this, and I don't think we should make those cuts, because I'm not even sure it's legal to make some of those cuts. So, I think we need to let people know that this is not the budget we want. This is not what we want done with our town. So again, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Kristen.
You're welcome.
Well, my comments obviously are after the fact, but I just wanted the Thompson community to know that the citizens of Thompson, to share some background, and I know some of the board members talked about this, but the board is really faced with a very difficult task of balancing this budget because of inadequate funding. And really the budget was allocated right by the voters of Thompson. This 9-member team of volunteer citizens, and they're volunteers, let's remember, put a great deal of effort to get clear facts out to the community regarding the needs of the children enrolled in our schools. Together, they created a social media campaign to keep voters informed with accurate facts. They wrote numerous letters to the editor of the local newspaper to dispel any incorrect information. They created graphics and signs and posters, stood at the transfer station on Saturday mornings and at all the polling places. Board members were also at every single Board of Finance meeting, and they were every single week, sometimes twice a week. And they also attended meetings organized by non-supportive groups, right, to clear up the facts. So they've been out there in the community. They even lined Route 12 with pom-poms and unicorn costumes and trying to get parents that are dropping their kids off to go out and vote, because what they know is at stake is the high quality education that we need to offer the children here. Tonight, they're going to be faced with a difficult review of the recommendations I put together for them, but they're still faced, no matter what happens on June 13th, they're still faced with $1 million worth of reductions that they're going to have to make. And we're trying to make reductions that are going to have the least impact on children. Early childhood, I'm an early childhood educator by trade. I started out as a kindergarten teacher and a preschool teacher. I know keeping those class sizes down is the most important thing. However, when you're looking at the district as a whole, You've got to look where you can take funds to reach $1 million. So I just want everybody to understand the members of the Board of Education did not create this situation. And I want you to know they fought really hard. I've never worked for a board that's been out there in the community trying to support your kids. So whatever happens, I just want you to appreciate the work that they've done. Thank you.
John Brissett, Old Davis Road. So the night of the last budget workshop, I texted Kathleen. I called Melinda the next day. So the ideas that I had that night and the next day have no bearing on these cuts, because these cuts have come about essentially in the last couple of days. One of them could affect my wife, and I want everybody to understand, especially some on Zoom who loves to throw out a bunch of BS, that this idea came literally during the last budget workshop. This is a spending plan. It's always called the budget, but it's a spending plan because it's a living document. Right. And I believe that special education, which is mandated by the state, so that children will lose no services, should be level funded. That's where the cut should come, because you don't know what next year's special education costs will be. We say it every year. We have no idea how many are going to move in. We also don't know if anybody will move out. And if you level fund special education, then at the end of the year, it is mandated. It's mandated by the state, and it's written in law that the Board of Finance has to properly fund the school. That's when legal action would happen, in my opinion. Because this board, and I sat on it for 6 years, and I feel bad that I never pushed harder for the regular ed kids. And that's the problem. The regular ed kids in our school have been decimated for the dozen years I've been paying attention to every budget workshop. The special ed kids get their services, and they should get their services, but those services are mandated. The state gave up that responsibility years ago, pushed it onto the towns, and now here we are looking at legal, there's all kinds of legal, stipulations about properly budgeting and about deficit spending. You're never going to deficit spend if you just cut every year before you even start spending. And so we talk about legal action. To take legal action, you have to deficit spend. Sounds to me like those two things can never happen. If you keep cutting, you're never going to deficit spend. You can never take legal action. So I would urge the board to not cut from regular ed, take it right off the line item of special education, and deal with it at the end of the year. And remember, this is the Board of Ed's spending plan, not the superintendent's. So it's not the superintendent that isn't budgeting properly. It's the Board of Ed. It's their spending plan. That's it.
Right. Yeah, sure. Right. I want to respond to something Amy said, and Amy, I love you, but the Board of Finance can't be absolved from any responsibility here. And while it's true that we did not get out the vote as a town, they've never adequately funded this budget. And right, they put together, they put out the budget the first time, but then to cut $750,000 without knowing what they were going to do, without knowing the impact, I'm not going to say they didn't care, but they didn't know about it. When I was the chairman of this board, I started a tri-board meeting and invited the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Finance, and the Board of Ed, more of a State of the Union kind of thing. And the chair of the Board of Finance said, "This is a waste of time. We're not going to do it." And that's the apathy in this town. The Board of Finance cannot be absolved of any responsibility here. And why there are our townspeople and our friends, they got to take responsibility. And to budget to a mill rate with no vision is absolutely wrong. It's wrong. And that's what they do year after year after year. So they need to take responsibility. And yes, we did not get out the vote, but they're not not only for the school, for the entire town. The roads need work. You need trucks. We need sidewalk. We need a lot in this town. But the way to have 6 people decide on what the town needs and doesn't need is absolutely wrong. I don't know how to fix it, but it's not the way to run a business. And this is a huge $25 million business. And it's the way they're doing it is absolutely wrong.
But, you know, Amy has a point. It's shame on the taxpayers. I mean, 29%, which is high for a referendum, usually between 16 and 20%. So was 2.81 ambitious? Yes, it was. It was ambitious, but some years it wasn't any, you know, it was 0.25, 0.0, you know, 0.05, point nothing mill rate increases. We can't continue that. It didn't even match the increase in inflation. This year, that 1 mil doesn't match inflation. The school's going up 0.4, you know, 4%. Inflation's 8.6%. If you combine the capital, the debt service, and the town, that's not going up to match inflation either. We've got a chart going back 8 years. We've never been increased to match, the school has never been increased to match inflation. And we have contractual obligations for salaries. They've cut into our fixed costs year after year after year. So of course we're falling further and further and further behind, and the same as it's the same for the town. So shame on the taxpayers, as Amy said, for not coming out to vote. And I don't know how anybody voted, obviously, but you didn't come out to vote. And yes, they're not allowed to go through the school budget line by line by line, but they are allowed to analyze it and ask us questions about it, which they did not do. Amy, you do want to be recognized again. I see that. Amy?
Thank you. And thank you, Bill. I appreciate where you're coming from. I agree with you. I think I completely lost my train of thought. This was really hard. I did my best. I went to the Board of Finance members. I offered up as much as I could to minimize the impact. I worked with Bill Steglitz. I worked with our Public Works Director. We knew that we could do without certain things. But in the end, it was such a loss. It was like a blowout at the Super Bowl. And there was no place else to go. We knew that we had to come in under $1 million. And I just hope, now I have the voter list from the last referendum. If anybody that's in the audience right now would like a copy of the voter list, I am happy to email it to them. They can look through it. They can find people that might not have come out to vote at the last referendum on May 15th. And please call your friends. Please call me and get that list, and call your friends and call your family, and make sure on June 13th that your friends and family come out to vote, because it's still on the chopping block. It could still be cut more. And it will be devastating. It will be devastating to the town. We might as well close up shop and go bankrupt, because at this point, there's no place else that we can go. And I'm so sorry. I hate everything that's happening to the school right now. But yeah, that was it.
Okay, thank you, Amy. And it is a shame for the town. It's a shame for the school. Okay, Marion.
Ellen Jones, 265 Quinnipiac Road. I just want to piggyback on a couple of things here. I am a teacher here in school, but I'm also the school readiness liaison for school. For the town, not for the school, for the town. So I write the grant. So Valia, I know how much work it is to write a grant, and it's a big deal. The town of Thompson gets $108,000 from school readiness. That is based on a lot of things that we have to do as a program to meet the criteria for the grant. Part of that is to have NIAC accreditation. One of the suggestions is to go to half-day kindergarten. Either way, if kindergarten is over 20 kids, we're out of the ratio for NIAC. It has to be 10 to 1. If we don't get NIAC accreditation, we don't get school readiness funds. So that is a big deal. Besides that, a lot of our students rely on that school readiness funding. School readiness is money, tuition money to pay for kids to come to school. So parents that can't afford to pay the tuition, they will be out of luck. So
good to know. Thank you.
Kathleen. So I wanted to sit here tonight and literally just shut my mouth, but I'm not going to. So I'm Tom Angelo, obviously Board of Ed member, 6 Fabian 48, 6 Fabian, geez. 640 Fabian Road. It'll probably be for sale if anybody wants to. President of the Turtle Lot Trust, and I'm also a very proud alumni of this school. This whole town, and this is a very sad time period for our town. Never in my 51 years of living here, it was 3 years in Woodstock, have I ever seen this situation. We have so many people that are against not only the school, but against the town, against everything. Any kind of step, progress forward. To hear a selectman, not tonight, but at a selectman meeting, where there was 2 kids that were alumni of our school, want to come back and work in our town to make our town better, and they're being called out for nepotism, you have got to be kidding me. Absolutely appalling. And Ken, I do like you, but that was absolutely uncalled for. If that's the case, we are probably not going to have any workers in this town because we're all related. That's called small town America. Second thing, Sean Brissett nailed it right on the head tonight. We have state and federal mandated programs. We should actually take this up with the state and the Fed and have them fully fund our budgets rather than just putting mandates that they do not fund, and we'll probably be in a much better situation. That's one thing. The second thing is, I agree with Sean. We should look into the legality of how do we level fund the programs that Sean just mentioned, and then hand the bill over to the finance at the end of the year. The third thing, this town was founded by immigrants. Swede village, Greek village, Polish village, Irish village, you name it. People that only spoke one language, their native language, and they raised children in this town and had adversity. Okay? We are at that time right now where it's adversity, and it's time to stand together and fight this small group that are Thompson residents. And yes, they might have a voice, they might have an opinion, but we are louder. We have the facts. We just need to put it out there. We're going to do our job to figure out how we make this thing work. We don't want to do these cuts. I don't want to do these cuts. I do want to thank you all for being professional and understanding that we are working together. Okay. You go to and you watch some of these other towns, it's chaos between public administration and the Board of Ed. We've never had that, and I want to thank you in my 16 years of being on this. All I can say is, board members, speaking to you as a citizen tonight, we need to really think differently, and I say we dig in, we hold firm, and we throw this back at the Board of Finance, not only for the Board of Education, but for our town, because we will never move forward. And that mill over here with the one sphere sticking straight up will stay that way. I mean, I don't think I'm ever gonna see it in my lifetime. So, and that's sad, but thank you all for coming out. Really, really appreciate it.
In the back.
Who's that?
Right here. Oh, me. Hi. Tara Brissett, 342 Lowell Davis Road, and I will preface this by saying that I'm a petrified public speaker. I did all of that to my husband, and then I cringe when he opens his mouth. I am going to piggyback on what Ellen said, and excuse me for reading off of my notes, but I do want to say that I love this town. My husband and I grew up here. We went to school here. We decided to raise our family here, and I've also been a teacher here for 30 years. Not for the money, but for the love of the town and for the kids. I love when I am at Walmart and a student runs up to me and says, and I get the biggest hug. It just brings joy to my heart. I've taught half day and full day kindergarten and full day preschool. I can stand here and tell you all about the devastating effects this will have on our youngest students, but we all know this. I don't need to preach to the choir. Those effects are gut wrenching, but instead, I will speak to the proposed cuts in terms that the Board of Finance understands. Money. Cutting kindergarten will impact our accreditation. If we lose that, we lose our grant funding. I have a readiness classroom, and the preschool readiness grant brings in $108,000. Our preschool also has brought in $27,000 worth of tuition this year. So I was shocked when I saw that cutting preschool and kindergarten was even an option, and I strongly urge you to please reconsider. Thank you.
All right,
Just say one more comment.
One comment.
Oh, sorry. Never mind.
Okay, I'm gonna cut the comments and we're gonna get into the discussion. All right, and then you have another chance to make comments at the end.
Okay.
All right. I thank you all for those comments. They were enlightening to us. We have before us a set of suggested cuts from the superintendent. You have received, also the parents have received letters, and the staff has received the letter from the superintendent with the cut. Unfortunately, the budget has been cut by $1,057,110, and that's what's going to the referendum on June 13th. Would be the education budget would be $20,604,373, which is an increase of 4.2%, or roughly half of the rate of inflation. But that's what we have to live with. So I don't know how we want to approach this. The letter states we have a choice of class size increases or eliminate the full day kindergarten, and then there's a list of others. Who wants to start the discussion?
Well, do you want any kind of motion to start discussion, or you just want to discuss?
I think we can just discuss.
That's great, because personally, I don't want to make any recommendations tonight anyway.
Open forum.
Okay. I would like, before we make decisions, because we don't know.
No, we don't know. So I don't.
But the impact of the NIAC accreditation and the readiness grant, how that's going to affect us. And again, all of these, there's 22 plus 4 on this side, so I got 26 and 23, but it all affects the general ed kids. And excuse my French, but they get screwed all the time, because
they do.
We take care of we try to take care of special ed costs, and then when we run over, we freeze the budget, and who gets it again but the general ed kid? And they lose their sports and the extracurricular and the enrichment. So I need to know for myself the legalities of the special ed. Now, we know that we cannot knowingly under budget. But I'd put it to you that we don't know what it is year to year. It could be a lot more, it could be a hell of a lot less. So I need to, before I can make a decision, what does that law say? What does it say that the same amount that we know this year, or a projection, or what it is? Because that's the big chunk of the pie that I need to know about.
Keep in mind that we overspent special ed this year, so I think that's what we did budget, is what we spent this year.
Correct.
Okay, all right. Again,
So that's what we
but
budgeted.
does the law say we have to do what we spent this year, or what we think we're gonna spend next year, or pick a number out of the year? I don't know. I want to know exactly what it says. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean, and I think it might be a good idea to have a session with the district's attorney so get clarity around that.
That's
So why don't
idea,
we schedule?
That can even be Zoom with him
Right,
too.
yeah.
We don't need to have him here,
No.
but you know,
Because I know I believe we budgeted what we spent this year, because we overspent.
So what would
Correct.
that increase per se?
770,000.
So,
Yeah.
but four special ed kids could move out of district. We don't know. We just don't know.
No, we don't.
So
So,
I just like to get that cleared out.
Yeah,
okay.
that hasn't been the trend though, right? It's-
Right.
yeah,
I know,
it's the
I know.
opposite.
okay,
Because we're keeping the tax rate low, so everybody's moving it.
Playing off of what Bill just said, if we have the attorney, can we also ask the attorney what we have for a legal stance
Mhm.
to reject what we have in front of us from the Board of Finance? Is there any legal, can we just refuse and bring it back out again in a referendum the way we had it?
I would suggest that board members come up with a list of questions.
Yeah, that's what,
I would like to send them to the attorney ahead of time, because I'm sure there's some research that needs to happen, and then have him meet with you. And I think that's a good idea, just a quick Zoom meeting to get the answers to those questions. So
that was my first, and then the second one was also, playing off of what Mr. Brissett had said, if we went the route flipped, kind of like what you're saying, level fund, and then whatever the shortfall is, we put the invoice forward at the end.
to cover the deficit,
Right.
because I would think,
Is that a legal stance?
right, because I would think, listening to this and what Phil made was a good point, is if we can present special ed at last year's budget amount,
Correct.
and then if this budget passes on the 13th, that's an extra $700,000 of the budget that we could move around in other areas if we just level fund it. And then if we go into deficit for special ed, because we're mandated to cover it, we present it to the Board of Finance. But because we don't know what that much money, what that amount's going to be, I would rather present that at the end of the year, and then where that $700,000 pocket of money we have, we can keep people right as they are. But if that is the case, that we can shuffle this money around possibly, and if we can keep special ed what it was funded at last year in the budget, and there's no ramifications for that, we have to urge everybody to vote, because if it fails, that there goes the $700,000 if we just possibly, not even sure we can, maybe move around.
the information that I gave you from the Connecticut law
Yeah.
clearly states that the Board of Ed is subject to whatever the municipality allocates for a budget. I don't know at this time in the past, when we run over in special ed, the deficit was in special ed, we told the town, here's the deficit. you need to fund us. What we found out doing some digging is that we need to, as soon as we recognize that we're going to run over in special education costs, alert the Board of Finance. I alert them at every single meeting. However, we're supposed to alert them in actual a formal letter. That is a good question because I'm not certain about that. All I know is that going into this budget, we're supposed to have a balanced budget based on the money that the town gave us. And I know that I can't knowingly deficit spend.
Right.
Hence the disturbing task of trying to find $1 million out of the budget, right? Any other questions that people have of the attorney, I can at least start to front load him with the questions. I can jot them down now.
Well, that would be my question. If we just go in with last year's budget amount for special ed, is that okay? And then,
but we knew we overspent it. That's
the issue.
But we don't know if we'll overspend again.
Right.
Well, we knew there was a problem with the contract.
The contracted services was not funded adequately.
Yeah, so we would have to add that.
But, and of course, if we know anybody's aging out or if anybody's being brought back into district. And again, I would put it to everyone on this board, we don't know what it's going to be. We don't know.
No.
We have an idea, we have a trend, but we don't know.
Right.
And we gotta stop cutting general ed. I mean, we gotta, I mean, I would, as that one woman who left said about putting her house up for sale, you know, like we gotta, there's no choice. We gotta get more creative than this piece of paper.
Every scenario that I tried to work out to get the $1 million all came from general ed.
Yeah.
Well, that's the only place we really have to go, unfortunately, because of the mandate, because to, you know, budget for and spend and pay for special education.
I see Steve Oscar over there. Steve, can I, not that I want to call you out, but you work statewide. Have you heard of any strategies that other boards have used when they get to a situation like this?
Strategy is the one that makes this finance board obligated for the overture on special ed. You can spend what you spent last year, okay? Because you don't know. Bill's right. You don't know exit entrance, okay? So if there is an overture, you keep them informed, okay, they're obligated, okay, to pay the overture.
Right. Spend what you spent last year.
But you've got to understand, you cannot intentionally decide that you're going to deficit spend because then all of you are individually liable.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
That's why I'm saying we dig our heels in.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're liable legally.
Right.
And that's why fight it.
Yeah, but the problem is we budgeted what we spent last year.
That's exactly what we did.
Right.
And a lot of that money came in out of district tuition, transportation, special education, transportation costs and contracted services. And I just want to put this out there for parents who have students that need those services. This is certainly not a hit on those children. No. We certainly feel that all children should receive the services that they need. And so it just so happens that that particular area tends to run over because of the unpredictability. We can't budget for it accurately because we don't know. So I just don't want people to think that we're sectioning out a certain population of students and it's that group's fault. It's not. It's just that we end up with more expenditures in that particular department.
Do we have any recourse? Can you ask Steve? There are statutes that mandate that we are to provide certain services for our children, our school children. Is there any recourse if the Board of Finance does not give us the money to get the tools to do that? Like, do we have any recourse against those statutes that are written into law when we are not providing the services we are supposed to by law because we are not financed properly to provide them?
Yeah, but how do we? there's a portion of our budget that is not funded by the state or by feds. It's proven, right? We all know that. What is that dollar amount, and why don't we go back to our legislators and have them go back to the state and get the money that they tell us that we have to do, and they don't fund it?
You're absolutely right, but people have been trying that for years and years and years and
Well,
decades.
And why do we have to follow the standard?
There's actually a nonprofit, I'll get you the name of it, that basically assesses every school district in the country.
Mhm.
There's only 5 states that fully provide the proper education to students within their states. 5.
Well, what's the recourse?
I don't know. But I know that they've been tracking this because a lot of people are in very similar situations like ourselves. We don't really have the ability to control a lot of the money that comes in to do the things we need to do.
Right.
And these cuts are made and they're made, but there are only 5, and I'll send that to you. There are only 5 states within the United States that actually fully and properly fund school districts. 5.
That's where I think we should be
Right. Because I think
pointing our efforts.
About something as dumb as transportation, do we have to have buses? And I know we do, but what's the legality of that? What can we charge parents for riding on the bus? I don't know.
What's the percentage of parents that are driving their kids to school? You know, I mean, look at the lines out there every morning.
Yeah. And I'm not suggesting that. I just want to know, do we have to actually do that? That's a lot of money right there. I don't know.
It is a lot of money. However, the very kids that we probably want to get to school would not come.
I know. And we have contracts we're gonna have to pay anyway.
Right.
But it's the bigger question.
I think we're legally obligated to transfer kids.
Maybe. I don't.
Cheaper,
I
higher
don't.
numbers.
That could boost economic development in here.
I mean, we're at a crossroads on many aspects in this town for moving forward.
And keep in mind, you know, our general or surpluses, they call it, or our general fund, it's at an all-time low.
Correct.
So we're on the brink of Franklin.
Yeah, I mean, our bond ratings, I mean, you name it.
Yeah, if we were to go to the town and say, hey, we're 700, like we did 2 years ago, and say we need 700 and some odd thousand, we could tip them right over.
But they also don't understand one thing though, Kathleen, and everybody, you know, there's one board member that's an alumni of this school, and shame on him. Everybody thinks that it's cheaper to close the school. It's not cheaper.
Oh, we've done that. We've just updated that
Correct,
study.
but we need to put that back out there again, because everybody says, well, guess what? If we outsource our students, we still have to provide transportation.
Oh, yeah.
And now we have no control over tuition.
Right. Well,
Look at what Woodstockers did with their tuition. So get it out of your head, town of Thompson, it's not cheaper.
No, just for the
Don't listen to transparency page, Mr. Manpanel.
Just for the high school, it was between 2 million and $1.5 million if you wanted to send your kid to Putnam. Yes. Or if you wanted to send your kid to Woodstock, $2 million.
But there's still a group out there that says this school should be closed. And I want to see their facts, because we put it out there multiple times, multiple years. So show me your facts, transparency page.
Don't be the money.
Now I'm gonna shut my mouth.
I said a dollar, you're gonna get.
I'm gonna talk to you.
All right, let's get this meeting back on track. Please wait to be recognized.
I'm done.
May I offer a suggestion because of the class size increase and the full day K at the early childhood? We look at the reductions on the flip side. And if there's any questions on these.
Good point. I mean, I don't want to lose NIAC for credibility. We can't do that.
So what would the cost of this side of the paper be?
Yeah,
so if you look on
playground repairs was $54,666.
All right.
My question is, does the playground being out of commission, and I know PTO is desperately working on the expansion project, but what does a playground do for our accreditation as well?
Well, they have an early childhood playground that's adequate for accreditation. That playground is for the older children, and I think, does 5th and 6th grade use that playground? No, so it's primarily for the intermediate kids.
Okay, and so they're not under NIAC accreditation?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to worry about that because we need that accreditation.
Right.
I mean, in Bill's, if you look under plant, right, in Bill's budget, he made a reduction of 107,000 to his budget.
Right.
He pulled out a custodian. We have a vacant position, so therefore we felt like someone wouldn't lose their job in that situation. Will it impact the cleanliness of the school at night? Yes, but he did put that out there in his budget. He also, the painting cycle, you know how every year we paint so many classrooms. We felt like, well, okay, so this year we won't paint. He took some money out of some of his other equipment and replacement lines. He felt that the equipment that he had, and I'm not speaking for you, Bill, but I am, so jump in here. And so he determined what he could pull out. He talked about keeping the lights on and the doors open out of his budget. So there was 107,000 there. There's been a couple of comments made about technology. We did pull money out of technology. We reduced one of the part-time technology people, and then we took away $54,000 for the 5th grade, the 4th grade going into 5th grade new Chromebooks. We felt like perhaps those students could use their Chromebooks up at the middle school for another year or two. Knowing that, where's Heather? A lot of them are coming out of warranty. And so that the life of those Chromebooks is about what, Heather?
3 or 4 years.
3 or 4 years. So it will be beyond the life of them, but we were hoping to stretch that. You did also put in your budget for 8th grade going to 9th grade laptops. We transitioned from Chromebooks to laptops up at the high school because of the functionality that's on the laptops that are not on Chromebooks. So that's why the students do make that switch over. So, I mean, you could look at high school kids for keeping their Chromebooks or using the seniors that are left behind laptops. Those are pretty old at this point. They got to be 4 years old now, right?
Yeah, and if you don't give them the laptops, then we have to go back to putting in computer labs because they can't use stupid software. They can't do AutoCAD. They can't do Photoshop. So there is a reason why they have the Windows devices, not the regular Chromebooks.
And that was the reason that you thought the reduction of the grade 4 Chromebooks would be appropriate. So out of her budget, Heather was able to reduce $73,416. The other areas that we looked at were it was $12,000 summer school for gen ed kids. This year, I don't have staff that can teach this summer. So the only summer programs that are actually running are extended school year for special education. We just don't have the teachers that can teach this summer. That's odd, but perhaps the following year we'll be able to re-implement that. I don't know. Where else here? If we just want to go down this sheet, and if you're looking at the side that says at top, scenario number 1, class size increase. So just going down the high school column, remember those 2 new positions we put in the budget. One of them was the student behavior coordinator. We did reduce that. And then we did reduce a building paraprofessional up at the high school. There are currently 2. We felt that we could go back down to 1 for the past 2 years. We've been running with 1. We just recently hired someone for that position. The late buses, you know, will affect any kind of after school clubs. and parents will have to provide transportation. The graduation textbooks, those were the Spanish textbooks that were requested. And then graduation expenses. The reason we put that in there was that we do pay for chairs, we do pay for a speaker system, we pay for mosquito spray, overtime for custodians. That's not included in that $36.55. That includes just the chair rental and the sound system for outside. And then on top of that, there's some custodial overtime and the mosquito spray to have graduation outside. It's a tradition here, and everybody loves it, but we have an auditorium that is air conditioned and beautiful, and we have small graduating classes. So families could probably have up to 8 tickets to have it inside. We wouldn't be able to invite the community, and a lot of community members like to come to graduation. So that would impact that. We do have a welder for $26.99 from the tech ed department. We are looking at improving our welding section there in tech ed. However, we believe that we could push that to a Perkins grant. And then of course, every school had field trip money taken out. And at the high school, we felt that we could pause on ordering new books for the library. And then just go down, it's basic supplies that we took out. So out of the high school, it was a reduction of $31,606. Let's talk about staffing at the high school. Several years ago, we had to make similar cuts, but not this big of a number, but it's always to balance the budget, right? Because our fixed costs weren't covered. And so years ago, if you remember, we reduced, we had usually 4 core teachers at every content area, and we reduced them down to 3. I think in ELA, we had 5 because we had a remedial class as well. So from ELA, we went from 5 to 3, social studies from 4 to 3, science from 4 to 3, and ELA from 4 to, ELA we went from 5 to 3. So all those positions got cut out of the high school, which reduced the number of elective classes that students could take. The new schedule that they're putting in next year, Dr. Maria back there, will be able to push in some additional electives because of its sheer scheduling, which we're pretty excited about. But we can't cut anything else up at the high school because there's nowhere else to reduce. It'll really impact the credits students have to earn for graduation. They won't earn enough credits if we pull out those courses. So they're at bare bones. So that's why we didn't go there, or I didn't go there. Then when we look at the middle school, Principal Granato and the board put in that math interventionist. We all know it's important, but it was a new position, so we pulled that out. The reading teacher at the middle school, I had to think about what was that wouldn't impact the general ed classroom. And so then you think about support services, right? And actually reading teachers are a general ed intervention. And once again, it's impacting general ed kids. And so we did make a reduction at the middle school. I don't agree with it. Believe me, I don't agree with any of these reductions, but that was something I put out there. Obviously, another building paraprofessional. There are 2 secretaries, full-time and a half-time at the middle school. Is it needed? Yes. But thinking about trying to maintain the classrooms, we decided, or I decided to put that as a reduction. Thinking about the middle school classrooms in grades 5 and 6, we have high numbers going into 5 and 6 coming up over the past 2 years. The 5 and 6 classrooms physically are small. And so if you put more students, I was just in Louise's class the other day, if you put more students in that space, so if we were to say, oh, let's increase class size at the middle school, they are literally going to be on top of each other. And that's where we have a lot of the social interactions that cause behavior concerns. And so then we can go down that road with an unruly school because everybody's on top of each other. So you've got to think about that. So at the middle school, the reductions aren't as high. There's only 13,200. And then out of supplies, obviously at the middle school. Sure.
Just the shared resource of the librarian, it says part-time, but it's only in the middle school column. Does that mean that it still will be half-time at the elementary or no?
So in the class size increase scenario, we would be able to keep a half-time circulation specialist. She would stay at Marriott Fisher because we need that position to cover teacher prep periods, but more importantly, the work that she does, kids circulating books. We want kids to read more books. And so we thought with that scenario, we'd be able to keep at least a half-time circulation clerk in the scenario with the reduced kindergarten to half day, we had to pull that completely out.
And then I just have one other question. The reading teacher being pulled out. One of the teachers had mentioned is there only two, so there'd only be one?
Correct.
Okay.
So that's a total reduction in the middle school of 261.
Oh yes, with that staff person. Sorry.
So there's only one reading teacher now, because this was
There's
two.
Oh, so this isn't the new position.
No, the new position was the math intervention that they asked for.
And then and over the years, we have sacrificed other teaching positions to put more reading in because we believe, or the board's feeling is that if we are going to put supports in for our gen ed kids, it's going to be around literacy, right? So we've done that, and when I came, we had 2.5 reading teachers. Now we have 5, it's helping, right? Our scores are going in the right direction in literacy. So, but when you're looking at the district as a whole, that was a recommendation.
My other question is, what is the elimination of, what are the sports that were, what is the budget?
So right now, we had put in a reduction of $10,000 from high school supplies, and then 5,000 from middle school sports supplies. We didn't hit the teams yet, and I'm going to say this: I had the pleasure of going to the last 2 award nights at the in the auditorium, and the middle school sports program is blossoming.
That's awesome.
And we had 46 students in track. They were literally spilling off the stage, and I was so blown away by that. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh my goodness, will we have to cut middle school sports when it is so widely participated in? I was shocked by that. And so I'm excited about the fact that if those students maintain those sports, that our high school program will get better. So when you're sitting there seeing that as a superintendent, you're saying to yourself, well, you really can't reduce middle school sports when so many kids are doing a healthy activity, right? And so it's not on the list here, but if the referendum doesn't pass on the 13th, I have a second, obviously, list, and it is there. So,
second question, the library circulation clerk, could this be something, or even the book fairs that leadership can help out with, or if they there's certain hours of designated time? I mean, just to write down and
Answer this.
Yes, please.
She attempted to request parent help for book fairs in the middle school this year.
Yeah.
Nobody stepped up to help her run those book fairs.
She did.
She had to do them all herself. And it's the same for elementary.
Yeah.
So if we lose her,
right,
we're going to lose every single book fair that we have because we're not stepping up to help when our teachers and our staff are asking for it. Because they came to PTO, there was a request for middle school PTO to possibly take over book fairs because she can't do it all on her own. She shouldn't have to do it all on her own.
Right.
But also when our PTOs are 4 board members and maybe 2 or 3 other people come, we're not getting the participation that we need. So
it's been that way for a long,
yes,
long
it has.
time.
I used to work the book fairs all the time.
But that we're not, as a parent, we're not stepping up enough.
Actually,
I think you're stepping up plenty, Jess.
Yeah.
Can we backtrack to technology, not to pick on Heather?
We haven't gotten there yet.
Well,
We're
we
going
were-
down this list.
Oh, well, we had discussed Chromebooks.
Right.
To go back to that.
Yeah, we did.
No, but that was just a hit. I'm
So may I not?
following on this sheet.
She wants to go calling by Paula.
Okay.
There's a technology call.
Okay,
We'll get there.
yes, ma'am.
All right, we're at the elementary school.
So, outside of the staffing, right?
Mhm.
Remember that I had sent in your briefs, that we also had to add a position in it for next year, a 0.5 ELL teacher. Primarily because, the projection is for next year, we're gonna have 15 students that require state and federal mandate support for English language learners. And we have 4 or 5 different languages now that the students are speaking, most prominent being Arabic. Only one of those students out of the 15 are Spanish speaking. So we have a more diverse population of families moving into Thompson, but state and federal law says English language learners, depending on what level they're at of English acquisition, they have to have, some of them may have to have services every day. So right now, we just piecemealed it with a sub coming in who had that certification, but now we have to offer those services to those students on a regular basis. So we had to add the position in. And that came after the budget, right? The impact came after the budget was put together. So that position has to be added. So that's why you don't see a bracket around that 55,000. As far as music's some field trips, Mary Fisher had $4,000 set aside for field trips. We know field trips are a really important part of an early childhood experience, getting them to the library, doing all those fun little field trips, plus the PTO supplements a lot of the field trips. So taking that out. And then music supplies, we're going to be getting a new music teacher. I will say that the music department at the elementary school is really adequately supplied, very nice instruments. I mean, over the years, the board has always made sure that that music department was thriving. I think that that could be eliminated. And then we took some money out of PE supplies. We have a lot of equipment. This was just an add-on, additional equipment that the teacher had requested. So when you look at the reduction, total reduction in the elementary school, it's $270,000 with those staffing cuts. Under pupil services, the only thing we pulled out was a $40,000 paraprofessional because of this is in scenario 1, class size increase. We would take out a kindergarten para. So that's why that fell in special ed. Then when we go to district-wide, we were looking at, remember that in my message to you all, that I try to look at every single department. So one of the things that we know is that the food service department does not absorb any of the healthcare costs. And so to do that, we thought we would take out a full-time cafeteria worker, use that $40,000 to offset the expenses for benefits, at least at $40,000 worth.
Can we go back to the elementary school?
Yes.
For a second, just for 2 questions on that. So the first one is, if we had to reduce staff in elementary, or let's backtrack. If we had to reduce staff and increase class sizes, we all agree that we need to start off our foundation of our house in the right proportion. Otherwise, the house is going to collapse.
Right.
What is that grade level where they can absorb a higher class size versus elementary? And I'm not disrespecting any school. Please don't take it that way. I'm just trying to figure out which grade level has the least impact to a little higher class size. And maybe this is not a question that can be answered tonight, okay?
So it really can't. There's been a lot of research around class size. No one has ever settled on what the ideal optimal class size is. There is a significant increase in student achievement if students are kept in a classroom 15 or less. There is good research around that. I've worked in districts where those class sizes in kindergarten, Kim's back there, anywhere from 22 to 25, and even higher has been the norm. It is not the philosophy of this Board of Ed since I've come here.
Correct.
It's been your philosophy to keep them low. We have been able to do that, but looking at the numbers, you know, in some cases, in some classrooms, we could go up. Is there an ideal classroom? If you think about K-1, they're learning to read in those classrooms, right? And so the more interaction they have with the classroom teacher, the better. Grade 2, now they're applying those reading strategies. So that's a critical time. So if you were to ask me professionally, is there a perfect time, a perfect grade level to cut? There really isn't. We do have a bubble class, an extra teacher that floats back and forth from year to year, whether or not that number is high in grade 3 or grade 2 or grade 4. We've been doing that for the last several years, moving that poor teacher around, that poor position around. But that's basically was a necessity. But I can do some research on that. I don't think there's any steadfast grade level or number that's ideal, but the lower, obviously, the better for student achievement.
Yeah, I would assume that the lower the class size at the lower grades, obviously you're going to have the best impact.
Correct.
Let's just say. The second thing is, can you clarify what you were saying about the languages, the Arabic, Spanish, and what other? I mean,
yeah.
Are we teaching?
These are children that are
coming in that way.
We teach that those children are speaking those languages at home. Those
okay,
children.
So I'm going to say this, and I'm no offense to any nationalities. Yeah. And it goes back to the way that this town was founded on families that did not speak English. And whether my family, Greek and Italian, we were forced as kids to learn English, and we no longer speak our native tongue. Okay. I know times have changed, but when does it become the responsibility of the family to teach English in the country that you're living in? And I might be chastised for what I just said, but I'm dead serious on this.
Because a lot of the parents themselves don't speak English.
I understand. But if that's the case, then let's get funded by the state and the Fed for what we have to do.
Well, then you need to speak to your state.
And that's where I think, again, I'm going back, like I said before, we need to push this back.
Yes, we do, because it is a state mandate that we provide these services.
Wait, we have to learn English. I'm sorry.
In this case, in this,
I no longer speak Greek nor Italian because I lost it as a kid.
So let me respond to that a little bit.
Thank you.
You're a 5-year-old student and you speak Arabic, and you're put in a kindergarten class at Thompson and Marriott Fisher, and a teacher is in the classroom with all the other students. She has to help that student understand what's happening in the class. She needs support, and that student needs support on how to
agree.
And how to learn English and access that. They have to learn it while they're in class from their peers. And so you just moved here from another country, and the students are mandated to go to school. The poor child that's in the classroom without those supports is really at a disadvantage. And so federal government and the state years and years ago mandated that we provide those services.
Are we being funded is my question.
No.
Okay, there's my point.
That's your point.
The list.
You
in a round way, yes, that's my point.
And if there was a way for us to send the bill to Congress, we should. We don't have mechanism to just send right bills.
Shoulders again.
I know.
Which is wrong.
Absolutely.
Absolutely wrong.
It's wrong, but it's the right thing to do for kids.
No, I'm 100% with that.
Right.
Just I went around the wrong way on it, but I'm 100% behind it, but for us to continually fund unfunded mandates, it's ridiculous.
I understand, and
I wish our senators were here. We've only had one come here in the last however many years.
It goes back again to participation. We put out a call for parents, residents, whoever, to write letters in regards to the bills that were coming out about special education funding. In circling back to our state senators, they received like 4.
Okay, and what was the outcome after that?
Nothing.
there's not enough.
There wasn't enough of a holler to get anything done.
There's no oil.
There has. Aside from dragging people into the voting booth, and I mean, I've got the bail account set aside for the kidnapping charges, but without somebody coming and picking somebody up and forcing them into the voting booth, this is what we're gonna continue to see. We're gonna continue to see the unfunded mandates because we're not getting our voices heard anywhere because nobody wants to speak up and say it. We're not going to get our voices heard at Board of Finance meetings because we're not coming out to vote. The participation level has got to change.
It's actually bigger than that though, Jess.
Right.
Because the bigger thing is, if you ever spent any time at the Capitol on a regular basis, it's nuts. It's who's ever there.
Right.
Is who's the one, they're the ones that are getting the stuff there. So if our representatives, you can send all the, I've seen the letters come. They've seen them come by text, they've seen them come by whatever. If they're not there to make the decisions, guess what? Fairfield counties, they're always there. They have the representation, right?
They also have multiple.
They have multiple people. That's why even the issues with our local hospital, if you don't have a lobbyist there, you don't have a representative there on a regular basis fighting, it's who's ever talking the loudest, making the best connections in the Capitol. That's how it works. So if our representatives aren't taking our message, it's really effortless to write. And Tom, in regards to the languages things, and just think about it this way. All the immigrants usually come into the cities. They'll come into Boston, they'll come into New York, right? What's happening now is we're on the latter end. So they're trickling now from the big cities into the smaller towns. That's why we need those types of services, because their numbers in the smaller towns are little. They don't have the big immigrants like your Albanian family, my French family. They came as big groups to the town. We're getting people that are trickling in, and these services are needed for these children. My mother-in-law is a reading specialist, did 50 years in Southern Connecticut in Fairfield County. She tutors on the side, and the numbers that she gets as an individual, 70-year-old woman to teach these kids, because there's so many now coming in. You have to provide these services, and there's just not the money there to do it. And you're exactly right. We have to push at people, but the world is changing. It's a very different world.
But to your point,
and the services are mandated. You've got to provide it.
Right, unfunded.
Unfunded, unfortunately.
And that's why we're in these situations. So.
And I think the same thing holds true with the parents. They're going to some of the local, Quinnipiac Valley. They're teaching courses that are not college courses, but they're teaching courses how to teach to read and write English. Mm-hmm. It's not just the kids, it's the adults as well.
Yeah. Yep. We did guesstimate unemployment costs, because when we lay off employees, they are entitled for unemployment. However, we're pretty confident that anyone that is unemployed, given the nature of teacher shortages and paraprofessional shortages, we're pretty sure that those people will find work. However, we did have to factor that in as an expense. So that's why you see that amount of money there. Remember that there was a change in the health care, and we saw some savings there. So the health care reduction of $50,000 is there. I talked to Greg. Greg has been keeping a very tight budget with security. He's done a really nice job with his budget, and he felt that he could reduce his budget by $10,000 and still maintain and even add a few more hours into security for nighttime. And then I never use my professional development line because there's so much PD that the state gives for free. And because we're an alliance district and an opportunity district, there's lots of PD in sessions that we go to. So I didn't feel that that was necessary. So out of the district-wide line, you can see that we reduced that for an amount of, where is it?
2,500.
Yeah. Yep. 19,129 overall for that whole district-wide line.
Melinda, when you mentioned the Alliance District.
Yes.
So because of our status as the Alliance District, since we're being so underfunded for our services, does that have any effect? Like, are they aware of that? Do they know that this is happening? That we're already an alliance district, we already aren't providing the services that they think we should be and performing at the rate we should. Will they look at this as this is going to negatively impact us even more because we're
being start taking away services that are supporting student achievement, right? I am sure it's going to have an impact on students, which means our test scores will go down, and then we will be forever a low performing district. You know, being an alliance district does keep us at the MBR, that the town can't go below that without a significant penalty. So in a way, it's a good thing we're an alliance district right now. But our alliance funding is in jeopardy because, you know, I have both of our state representatives looking into it for me. Senator Gordon got right back to me. They haven't made a decision on alliance funding yet. I did see a chart where there was a 0 next to Thompson, but he told me that that meant there was no projected change in our funding and alliance. We only get $200,000, and we know we use that for one of the positions. So, but we were hoping that I was hoping that would actually increase, but there's no guarantee we're even going to get that yet. So we're waiting to see what's happening at the state level.
When do you typically know that answer?
Usually in June, sometime after they pass the budget at the state. So, and then moving over to, we've already kind of talked about Bill's plan line. There really wasn't anything we took out of transportation except for the late buses, but we put those under the individual schools that they impact. High school athletics, you can see the 10,000 for supplies that came out. The technology we talked about was those Chromebooks. Middle school athletics, you see 5,000 coming out of supplies. Curriculum line, we took out some curriculum supplies and curriculum dues and travel for $11,000. There's not a whole lot of traveling because of Zoom now. A lot of stuff is, you know, afforded that we don't have to go into Hartford as much as we used to when I first came, which is a blessing. And then of course, ESY summer, we took out the $12,000 for the general ed, and primarily we weren't going to be able to run gen ed summer outside of the reading support. The Orton Gillingham group of teachers are providing intensive reading support because there was still some grant money left in the Alliance. So they are offering that support to a host of students. There's 5 of them providing services. So kids that have reading deficits will be able to come in this summer and get intensive reading because we had that money left in Alliance. So I'm happy about that. So as far as, you know, running a robust summer program, unfortunately, a lot of our staff really need the summer to kind of just enjoy the summer. It's been an intense year, and so you know, we're happy about that. And we know that our reading students are going to be addressed. So those letters have already gone out to families for the reading support. So we felt we could get that 12,000 out. So that is the scenario with the class size increase. On the flip side, the difference is that we took out the circulation clerk. So we had the circulation clerk. I can't remember now. I'm getting all mixed up. But yeah, we took it out here, but everything else basically is the same, except that we did adjust the unemployment number to be different We also applied contingency. Remember that 30,000 that was in a line? It was a funny number. Bill did apply that in here as well. So, and then we had to add a midday bus run because if we went to half day K, we're going to need more buses so that we can bring the AM and the PM kids back in a timely manner. So there's an expense to that of $30,000 at a minimum.
Madam Chairperson, I have a question. What grade do we start using Chromebooks?
Preschool.
Preschool.
They have them. They have them just in case. Heather, correct me if I'm wrong. Preschool, right? They usually keep them at home. Yeah, they keep them at home.
I'm all for giving our kids early access to technology because that's the future. This is the 21st century. It's 2023. Kids need to know how to use computers. If we're gonna, age out some Chromebooks, maybe preschool and kindergarten shouldn't have Chromebooks, and maybe they should learn how to use crayons and markers and learn how to write. I mean, trust me, I'm not looking for any of these cuts, but if you're gonna age out some Chromebooks, that might be it. I mean,
theirs aren't being replaced in the cycle. It's only
moving to somebody else. That's
if
you've got how many kindergartners and preschoolers do you have?
we have 10.
So there you go. That's
And if there's 80.
I'm not an early education expert. I totally but that's
I would feel like
crayons, markers might do a lot of it. I'm not picking on Heather here. So Ms. Burns, I'd like to say something.
Am I allowed to respond?
Yeah.
So we did do that last year to save money. The preschool and the kindergarten didn't get the brand new Chromebooks. And the majority of these Chromebooks were grant funded anyways during COVID, which allowed us to be one-to-one when we really did need them.
Right. Yes.
So I do agree with you. They're not used as much in preschool and kindergarten. Why we took them from them last year and we gave them to the 3rd and 4th grade to save money. So
right.
I mean,
and I'm not picking on the kindergarten teachers either. I just, I'm looking for nickels and dimes, just like everybody.
Teacher, I sent them home because we were told to send them home. I collected them back this week. I haven't opened them once.
Thank you.
And as a kindergarten teacher, we did the same thing. And the parent of the kindergartner, he couldn't use it. It wasn't a touch screen.
Yep.
He couldn't figure out the mouse, so it was useless.
Okay.
That's something to keep in mind.
Please, thank you.
Yeah.
It's nickels and dimes at this point, and
I mean, it could benefit 5th graders.
Heather, could you go back and think about that and see if you can reduce your budget anymore?
I wouldn't be able to this year.
Okay.
Because like I said, they already have the Chromebooks that we gave them last year to send home were already 3-4 years old. But probably for next year,
But could you take them from pre-K and K and use them as?
I can, but they're not going to be reliable.
Okay.
oh, those are the old ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good clarification. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, then can we not purchase pre-K and K Chromebooks then? And what funds we were going to use to purchase those, we put back towards 5th grade.
So what Chromebooks were you planning on buying?
That I was going to purchase were for
grade 5 and grade 8.
No, sorry, it was laptops going into high school.
Okay.
Correct.
So no new Chromebooks were on the schedule.
The only thing I think I may have kept in the budget for new ones were just replacements because the middle school students destroy there.
Really?
So just maybe 20 or 30.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's what you have down there.
We're gonna do
Say
70,
destroy.
you cut it
Yeah.
to 30.
So
Who pays for that?
isn't the accountability for that? Because I can tell you, I know, some other school districts, they're now like making them accountable, making parents pay for these things. Okay, good.
Yeah, I
I-
paid for one,
I-
my son's keys was missing or
I did
something.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and Natalie was in middle school at the
Yeah,
time, so
yeah.
I said her name.
So you
So-
fill that out, is that it? You have any people squawk at that?
I do. Yeah. It's in the handbook.
Yeah. It's ownership, it's.
Exactly, they need to learn some responsibility. So going over like this side of it, there's just a couple things that I really struggle with, but I feel like a lot of this stuff makes sense when you're dealing with budget cuts. The couple of things that I really struggled with was, and I would like to see, there's about $354,000 of funding that I'm hoping that we can try to figure out what we're gonna do, and it's the teachers in the elementary school, it's the librarian being able to be in both schools, and the reading specialist in the middle school. I think if we're looking at this budget, those are the areas that we need to find $354,000, and whether it is we go back to the lawyer and ask what we can do about special ed stuff, but that's $354,000 we can't consciously cut. And the rest of the stuff, yeah, it's gonna stink about maybe, filters being paid for, but it's not detrimental. It's not going to affect the kids' learning, but $354,000 could have a crucial.
I agree.
And I think that we need to figure out as a board what we can do to find this $354,000. And I know Melinda, you looked over the budgets and stuff, but I think the only way moving forward is that we have to talk to lawyers and stuff, but I don't feel comfortable voting on it tonight myself.
No.
But I do feel like we see a number of, if we can keep those positions, of where we, what the next steps are to get us to this target area.
I can go back.
Yeah.
But it's still gonna impact.
I know, it's a pendulum thing, and I get that, and I would rather we go on the gamble of special ed, and I hate to say it, and then if we have to, keep as is, we cut the rest. We're still cutting quite a bit, but we keep these positions in. And if we have to, at the end of the year, say, you know what, we ran a deficit, and we know where the deficit's going to come from, but we don't know if we're going to run a deficit. And I just hate that we don't know, we know, but we could be cutting positions that were desperately needed for these kids on a we don't know basis. And I don't want to use the word gamble, but I kind of feel like the right way to do this would be to go about keeping the positions as is, and then make the cuts. In other words, we're making cuts, yes, but I don't see how we're going to do any good with this, and then especially knowing that there's a $700,000 increase to special ed that may or may not be used per se. Do you get what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying.
Yeah.
So if I understand what you're saying to me, do you want me to go back into the budget and find a different $354,000 worth of reduction?
No, what I'm saying is what I put back. What I'm saying is we reduce whatever the 700, the 1 point whatever, we take out the 354 and we just run as is with putting back the 354.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
We have to take out as of this point, the 1,057,000. So we need to explore the special education.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like that, because they're getting 700,000. So if we put back in the 354 for the kids here, that's 350,000 still left over that will be there for special ed if needed.
I think the thing that's confusing to me is if the gentleman behind me had said that in his experiences, you have to budget for what you know today to be the special ed needs. And what we know today to be the special ed needs is what we budgeted. There is no extra.
Right.
You follow? We're over.
I'm following,
Yeah,
but it
over
could
this
change,
year,
but I'm just like,
that we had to now add into our new budget because it's a known It's a known value.
It's a known expense.
Right, so now that new value with the 700,000, whatever it is, over budget is in the new budget because it's known, and that is now the new FY 24 number. There's no
best guess.
right. There's no 700,000 just floating around.
Well, no, I'm not saying that, but that's their increase where we're talking a decrease for general ed. So it's like a big decrease. So I'm like, how do we find the special sweet spot? Because general ed can't keep taking the hit. It just can't happen. So where we find the sweet spot, whether we go to the Board of Finance and say we ran in because we gave you a budget that wasn't taken seriously, and now, but I just.
And that's the question that the attorney has to answer.
Right. Yeah. Right.
How do we budget that? I want the exact thing.
Right.
Is it a best guess? Is it what we spent? Is it?
Yeah,
right.
That's one of those
I
questions.
don't know. That's
And here I am, open forum here. What if somebody had word of mouth saying, oh, we've got 6 special ed people who might be leaving town. We don't know. That's again, we're basing special ed off of a lot of hypotheticals. Yeah. And so what if one of those hypotheticals was, oh, maybe some of those $100,000 kids, $100,000 kids are moving out of town, and it's just as much speculation as the Board of Finance is speculating on what they think we need.
I see what you're saying. Think future too. What's going to happen?
I've got the budget right here.
Okay.
Okay, and we budgeted last year for 4,067,000.
Yep.
We're budgeting this year for 4.8 million, and we actually spent last year 5,278,000. Right. So we are budgeting below what we spent last year by 769,000.
Madam Chair, the other thing I think we should think about, there's going to be, I think, 2 housing projects coming into the town, and with those could be a lot of low-income housing, because let's face it, the state is pushing for low-income housing. And not to say it happens all the time, I'm not trying to degrade anyone, but typically with low-income housing, you get a lot more kids that have to have special needs. So we have to start thinking, we as a town, not just as a Board of Ed, with these projects that are coming into town, is going to be increasing class sizes, increased services for special needs. This is not ending. This isn't going to be an ongoing thing over the next 2 years, especially with those housing projects that may have the potential to come in, and the state pushing for low-income housing within our area.
And again, it comes back to somehow squeezing money out of our state and federal. I don't know how to do that. We don't seem to know how to do that. If I had a lobbyist in my back pocket, I could get that done for us, but I don't. I can't even lobby our Board of Finance, so I can't. And no way can I lobby Congress. But we need to figure out ways to. Somebody needs to.
The special ed budget for this FY is about 800,000 over last year. Yeah.
But it's under what we spent. Or projected. Correct. Yeah.
Kathleen.
Yes.
What Danielle just said, though, we spent 5.2, you said, on special ed last year?
Yes.
I thought legally, you could not spend less.
Well, they went through, we probably have somebody aging out, that kind of thing. So they went through, Dr. Jones went through and said, here's who, what, and they projected spending. The budget is projected spending, you know that.
Yeah, no, I got that. But I was just, maybe I'm caught up on a number thing, but I thought legally, going back to what Danielle just said, where she said, take the 300,000. I think if I'm understanding what Danielle had.
I don't know if I'm understanding what Danielle saying.
No, but to your point is,
we put in, or Dr. Jones and Bill Steglitz and Superintendent Smith put in what they expected to be. As of this moment, a budget is a fluid, document. It doesn't remain. It's good for the day you create it. and tomorrow it's going to change.
Yeah.
They put in their best estimate of what they projected next year's cost to be in special ed.
Which is 4.5, right?
4.8.
4.8 million.
Last year was 5.2.
That's what they spent, but there's probably somebody
Correct.
out of it.
But we know how many are moved because, and I'm just putting this out here.
Mhm.
I have never seen a special ed budget come in under in my years here.
Well,
Except for the time we had one student leave, which was about a $400,000.
that's correct, and maybe that's happening this year. I don't know.
So what we learned,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna put this out there. What we learned is that the previous couple of years, the special ed budget didn't reflect the appropriate expenditures, right?
Right.
So we went through just last week, again, the entire special ed budget by student, by out of district, by extra transportation, and by staffing. And we went through that painstakingly arduous task for a few hours, and it added up to that number right now.
For today. 4.8.
4.8. We
Okay.
went through it again. We wanted to make sure April in that department is fantastic with maintaining that special ed budget. And she knew the numbers right off the top of her head. She had all the backup documentation. We went through it again by kid. And it came out right to that number. So at this moment in time,
Yep.
that
Okay.
number is a real number.
Okay, got it. So that is literally in my world, basically a zero cost based budget.
Yeah.
Bang. Okay.
That's it.
There's nothing in there that says that any percentage of growth, any percentage of over under, let's just say, right? Okay. Did you base this also on knowing if there was one student leaving or one student coming in?
Yes.
Okay.
As
That
of
we
today,
knew-
that's what we know.
That we knew about that day. Like we have had students that have aged out.
Yeah.
So we included those. We included students that we know are moving at the end of the year, so we included those. But that's a real number as of last week. I don't know if anyone's moved in yet.
All right, so let me just ask my original question in a different fashion. Knowing that we spent 5.2 last year, this year, whatever we want to call it.
Correct.
Right? Are we obligated to still budget 5.2 because that was our number?
No.
Okay.
Basing it off
All right,
of
thank
what we expect, because
Yep, that's fine.
that one $400,000 person aged out or whatever, then
Okay.
boom, you know.
All right, no problem. I get it. Sorry.
But
I
it's
was
good
trying
to know.
fund
Good
this
to-
350.
I know. I gotta play some lottery on my way home. If I win, you heard it here first.
Special ed,
There you go.
Janet, whatever you want to call it.
Okay,
So where do we go? What do we do?
well, we can't. We're not gonna take a vote tonight or anything. We don't have a motion, but because we don't really have a budget yet. The budget will, hopefully we'll have a budget June 13th. And then we'll have to call another meeting to really nail down these cuts. Melinda will call our attorney,
Get a meeting.
so if you have any other questions that you feel that you need to have her ask the attorney.
What's
I
our
think my
recourse on the
question-
state and federal level?
I think my question is though, Kathleen, before the referendum on June 13th, what recourse do we have as a board and taxpayers to push this back and stop the referendum from happening? And that's my question.
I don't think you can, because like I said, it's been sent to the Board of Finance. They sent it to town meeting sent it to referendum already. It's in motion. I don't think you can stop it now.
Is there a petition that needs to be signed with a number of
Maybe that's it.
signatures? And just the question I need
That's
to.
a question, we can ask it, but I don't know, I really don't know.
Could we go back and ask for, because I know that 1 year we asked for the sports back and it was like $60,000. Could we go back and ask for $354,400? Could you didn't give us enough money?
Have to go back to referendum because it's over the
Yeah.
percentage that they're allowed to just.
Right. Cause I mean, that might be another option too, that we go back and say, we need this much to run our schools.
If
You cut way too much.
I think if they
Yeah.
cared, as
Yeah.
the Board of Finance, I think if they cared, they would have asked us.
Right, what those cuts would look like.
What
In real dollars.
what is the,
Yeah.
you know, they don't, they're only looking at their.
Well, that's what started their workshops. We want to come to a mill.
Yes.
Yeah,
Every-
well,
every time.
shocker, that's where we're
Yeah,
at.
we also know they spend 3 weeks on a $70 shovel, and then it comes to the biggest part of the budget, and they give us 10 minutes. Yeah, they give it, one meeting. Okay, thank you very much for your.
No offense to Amy and their needs and their trucks.
Yeah.
But they spent many hours
Right.
discussing trucks and leasing trucks.
Right.
Only to cost the taxpayers more money to lease a truck.
Right.
Yep.
So, and I have an issue with this, and my whole thing right now is I want to know legally what we have for a recourse as a board.
Right.
Stop the referendum from happening until.
That we can't.
That we can't do, but what
I
is
don't-
there
I
a
don't- I don't
recourse to
believe
get
that.
our money back?
I don't believe that. I believe with enough signed petitions, I bet you we could stop this and we can
Well,
have this.
That's a question
taken
to
care of.
ask, because I would like to know the answer to that also.
That would be the town's attorney, Amy.
Amy Trotter.
You should ask her.
The only place you can have.
Is that Amy? Amy? Amy, can you?
Sorry,
Amy?
it's so complicated to unmute myself in these meetings. Yes.
Charter, that a referendum can be,
We don't have
We don't have a charter.
okay, great.
We don't have a charter. Right.
No, is that a question to our town attorney? Can we stop the referendum with a petition?
I could ask, I mean.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm sorry, the ultimate problem is even when Board of Education members don't actually come out to vote, the problem lies in the voter turnout.
Right, we understand that, Amy, and shame on us.
Right.
Right.
Can you stop it now? Can you stop democracy? Democracy happened on May 15th. The problem is that people didn't come out to vote.
I understand that.
And we all suffer with those consequences.
Yeah, totally understand that.
Right.
But-
I mean,
But as a
happy
board,
to,
but as a Board of Ed member, I'm only a Board of Ed member and I'm speaking as a citizen. If we don't agree, that's also democracy. And you can stop something by majority opinion. So that is kind of my question in a roundabout way. Because I don't agree with the $1 million cut on the board side, on the Board of Ed, and I don't agree with the cut that they just put towards you as well, Amy. If this town wants to move forward, then we need to rethink this and get this thing corrected as a group.
but what you're doing, what you're suggesting is that you take a vote that was legitimate and you say it's not valid. And I don't think that's democracy.
I'm not saying.
Democracy is everybody had the option to come out to vote. And if people didn't come out to vote, then we lost. We lost.
I see.
Yeah.
Right, I'm not, no,
Yeah.
there's a misinterpretation. Bill
Okay. Maybe I'm not understanding. I mean, I'm happy to go to the attorney and ask any question you'd like me to ask.
I'm interpreting for Tom. Thank you very much.
Okay.
He's agreeing with the results of the first referendum. What he's disagreeing with is the cut of $750,000 additional dollars that he does not agree with. So there's 6 board members over there that said yes. There's 9 of us here that say no. So can we stop it and somehow maybe meet in the middle? I don't know that you can. I'm not an attorney. No.
I mean, again, I'm happy to bring it to the attorney, but we did follow the process. The Board of Selectmen took it upon themselves to move to town meeting, published a legal notice with the intention of moving to referendum on this budget. I get what you're saying, and I'm happy. I'll reach out to the town attorney tomorrow.
Yeah, Amy, I'm just, you know, again, there's a group in town that want to sign as many petitions as possible and stop progress. So why are we not able to sign a petition and stop them in their tracks as well? That's it should be in a state statute somewhere. seeing how we don't have a charter.
Well, I mean, I guess my point is on May 18th, the Board of Finance made their final cuts, if I'm remembering the dates correctly. We've had nearly 2 weeks. And now we're moving to referendum. I mean, I mean, sure. I mean, again, I'm happy to ask it to reach out to the town attorney. Happy to do whatever you would like me to ask. I am happy to advocate for the school.
Can you find out how we can ask for an extra $354,400, Amy, please?
Well, you can always, but I thought we already, I mean, I thought you all have been already discussing the fact. What was that 300,000 for?
So that would be to keep the first grade preschool teacher and para, kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2, the librarian, and the reading specialist. That's what that would include.
Well, there's always the option to petition to the Board of Selectmen. If I understand correctly, the way things have happened in the past, we could petition the Board of Selectmen, who would ask the Board of Finance to consider that and take it out of the surplus that is gradually year after year dwindling down to nothing because of underfunding.
Right.
But hey, you know what, if that's what you need, again, I'm happy to advocate for the school. I'm absolutely partnered with the school. We are in this together and we are all one budget and we are one town. So
we appreciate your efforts. That.
We really, really do.
We do. Amy, we do. Trust me.
Whatever you need from me, I'm there to advocate for you and the school.
Thank you very much.
Right. I think we should be advocating for the town.
Yeah, and it goes both
and
ways.
for the town, not just the school, for the whole entire town.
Right.
But specifically, I mean, I think the school has been hit, even though the town was hit hard, the school is always hit that much harder. So.
Yeah, we just have $354,000 in positions that we cannot absolutely cut. So we have to figure out as a town.
Well, one way would be to go the way we are, but you
Yeah.
got to keep in mind, and it's a terrible thing that we keep whittling away and whittling away at our surplus. And eventually, Amy brought it up at the last Board of Finance meeting. This town is going to go bankrupt.
Yep.
Right.
And,
And what happens? I don't know what happens when the
State's
town
gonna
goes
Well, state
bankrupt.
takes over. Didn't they do it in Preston or Sterling or somewhere?
Hartford, Sterling.
Yeah.
Hartford too.
Well, unfortunately, that's what happens when.
Yeah, West Haven is still under state operation.
Yeah.
That's where we're gonna be.
And if that's what they want.
Well, maybe that's what that group that's out there wants, as they continually spread in their negative rhetoric.
Right. But anyway, okay, thank you, Amy, very much.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Everybody get everybody out to vote. I don't think you're gonna be able to stop it. It's already been approved for referendum. The only thing we can do is vote yes, and then request
For the money to come back.
So we having a meeting with our attorney prior, I mean.
Yes, Melinda will answer those questions for us.
Well, I think what I'll do is I'll send him what I have, get a date for him for a Zoom meeting, and then we can all join in on the discussion.
But if anybody else has questions for the attorney, get them to Melinda right away so that he can be prepared.
Yeah, 'cause there's two issues. We have the prior and then we have post election.
As long as this
Right.
one passes, because if it doesn't pass, we're in.
Well, that's not a half bad idea, though, to go back and say,
Yeah.
okay, we made our reductions, but we still need X dollars.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
Correct.
we can't, with good faith,
It's
we can't do this. Like this, we can't operate our school.
And if that's the case, then they need to volunteer 20 hours a week and they need to come up here and teach.
Because there is, I think Brian Santos alluded to it, regulation of 10-220.
We'll fight the bargain.
They have to fund.
Board of Finance needs to come work at the school.
You promised you weren't gonna talk anymore.
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna go read that regulation that 10-220, because there is a regulation, I just read a recap of it, that they have to fund us adequately.
Right.
But what does that mean?
Who determines that?
Right. Who?
The educators in the Board of Ed.
Yeah.
Say that they can't do their job. And
That's
then,
Right.
Well, you have to petition.
Right.
And I guess we could get the state board of education involved.
Losing the readiness grant. I mean, that's 190,000, 180,000. So that's 180. All right, well, 100,000 that we're going to be on the hook for because we just cut their positions.
Right.
So how is that smart?
Right.
Well, it
So,
isn't.
They're not.
No,
Yeah.
but I mean, but I'm just saying that like we have leverage to advocate for this because we're gonna lose $100,000.
They have to be accredited and they have to be 10.
Right, we're not gonna
10 to
pass our
1,
NIAC accreditation and we're not gonna programs for the kids. So we're not doing our part. So I, as a human being, mother, taxpayer, board ed member, will not ever vote on them losing these positions. So we have to figure out a way to get $354,000 back in the budget.
So to piggyback on what you've been saying to get out to vote. So we live, the United States is a constitutional republic. This town is a republic in the sense that you folks represent, elect us to represent you in education, elect the Board of Finance to represent you in the financial matters. But in the regards of passing the budget, it is a democratic process. It is a 1-to-1 vote. Everybody gets one vote. If it does not pass, it's on the majority who has voted.
Right.
And that, so I just, every time I've run for this board during a debate, I brought this point out. I mean, we have a direct say in what happens in this town. We don't have a direct say of what happens in Washington or in Hartford. It's many steps removed from any kind of power, let's say. Here we have quite a bit of power on a local level, and we need to exercise that power as a citizenry. We can complain all we want about federal spending or state spending, but when we complain about spending, we're complaining to ourselves.
Right.
And we can fix this.
And if we don't go out to vote and we don't pass this budget, they will never give us $354,000. I'm going to tell you to cut more. So we have to cut all those jobs and then some. So it's important that we get people to go out and vote, because if we can pass this, we might have a chance to get money back into it. But if we don't pass it, they'll never let us add not even a penny. We'd have to cut the penny. So, it's detrimental that we get out and we vote and we tell everybody we know, and we'll do our part in trying to get what we can.
There are, I don't know the exact number, there are 50 or 60 students graduating, which means most of them are or about to turn 18. My daughter's graduating Sunday, and she just went down. She turned 18 last week. She went down to register to vote today. So anybody who knows a senior,
right?
Boom, ask the children, ask them to register to vote. I mean, it's so easy. She went down to town hall today, and it was done.
Actually, the high school did do that.
Okay, thank you.
They actually even filled out paperwork for kids' birthdays that were coming up,
right,
and got them down to town hall. So, Dr. Mayo and the team, Frank McGarry came down with your mom, and they took care of that.
Thank you.
So that's happening. The one thing I do want to point out is that, there's so many people, like 50 people, 60 people, and then who's here? Marriott Fisher has over 330 students. So there's a good chunk of people that aren't tuning in to this issue. So I agree with you that the message has to come from the parents that are online and here. I can't go out and send out all calls or emails. I have a gag order when there's a referendum in play. So I'm not allowed to do that because it means I'm swaying your vote one way or the other. So that's why you don't hear from me or don't get letters from me, because I would pepper you with letters or calls. But I'm not allowed to do that. The board's not allowed to do that.
Do we know the percentage of students that are renters in this town versus parents that own property and have the legal right to vote?
You
live
here, you can vote.
Yeah, you don't have to be a property.
Oh, I'm thinking of
resident.
Never mind. I'm thinking of the other,
the budget
one. Yeah, wrong one. Sorry. Okay, so we can affect.
Yeah.
All
You
students.
move to
all
town, you
parents.
register to vote in that town.
Right.
That's right. There is one. Yeah.
All right, we're all done with the discussion. Okay, I can open it for one more round of citizens' comments. If anybody, yes?
Sorry, just one more thing. Again, like I voted, so, and I don't have to disclose how I voted, but I'll tell you that I voted yes, just because the questions I'm about to ask, I really don't want to be accused of trying to derail, you know, anything that's being proposed. I think I speak for a lot of the parents who I've talked to don't have a clear understanding as to why our special education budget is 4.5 million when Putnam's special education budget is 1.6 million and they have 100 more students than we do.
Well, that can't be right.
That can't be right.
That's not right.
Yeah.
They probably classify it in different areas, because that isn't right. In fact, I know it isn't right.
I mean, I have them.
Yeah, I understand, but they probably classify it in different line items because they have a higher or equal percentage of special education students.
Okay. In addition to that, when we're talking about looking at items to cut, I'm not exactly sure what line item 68, other objects for $35,000 or line item 295, other objects for $30,000 is for, which seems to be new, but potentially we could use those. And then again, just looking at why our technology budget is $300,000 more.
Yeah,
than the local school.
we'll look into that, and because we are putting in a new program this year.
Yeah, and I mean, it's hard to compare apples to apples because
Correct.
my hardware budget is like $50,000 because most of my hardware is secured with grants. But I paid for our payroll system, our teacher evaluation system, our SIS, like every program under the sun that we use here comes from my IT budget. So I don't know if other schools do that. Every curricular resource, online tool that we use, I mean, everything.
Yeah.
And the payroll.
Could be just the way they line item.
Right.
Everything. That makes up about $250,000 in my budget.
Yeah, because we realigned everything as cost centers.
Yeah.
Right, so it might just be a.
Could be a simple classification.
Yeah.
Okay, and I don't know how Putnam classifies.
They also outsource all of their technology, and if you talk to teachers there, the response time to get things fixed or corrected isn't as quick. And with all of the Chromebooks being out there and all the teachers' laptops and the other flat screens that we use, we want to be responsive to the educators and make sure the technology works. So we do have, we did propose a reduction in one of our part-time workers. And remember that the technology department also does include the town. So our technology department includes our town as well. We took that over a few years ago. We partnered with the town so that they would get quick response time and share some of our resources or older equipment that they can use down there.
And we charge the town for that.
The town actually gives us money to cover some, not much, but about 20,000 to cover some of the time on our end. So, but we know that the partnership works and it's good for the town to share those
huge benefits we've gotten in the last few years, both in both directions.
We're in this together.
Yeah.
Right?
HR, there's what do you call it? Shared services, HR, tech, and finance, right?
Right.
Yeah. Remember, we're all one community.
Sean has the rest.
Yes.
So before my time starts, I have a question.
Wait a minute.
When you mentioned, did you say that you redid the cost if we were to close the high school and send the kids out? Say we redid that? So it was updated when?
Last week.
And This time it would be between $1.5 million and 2 million more,
Mhm.
because that's actually more than last time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay,
because
I couldn't hear you well, so I just want to clarify that.
here's the variable on that.
Yep.
There are 21 students at the high school that would have to go out of district.
Okay.
And then there's 29 students at the high school who still require special education services, which is more than we had back then.
Okay. And another thing, if you put something out about that, any press release or anything, remember, sending kids to another school means no representation on the Board of Education. Okay, you would have no say, the town would have no say in the curriculum, and no say in the budget. So you lose complete control of the education and complete control of the cost, along with it being $2 million more. I hate to read from notes, but I've had a lot of conversations with people, so I'm going to. Are there grants out there for the language that Tom was talking about, the language education now, because we're seeing so much more immigration? Are there any grants out there that could cover that? That's one thought.
So not for the teacher.
What's that?
Not for the teacher, however, for professional development, we get a small amount of money. I want to think it's $500 for professional development for classroom teachers to work with an ELL teacher, but that's about all we can tap into.
I keep hearing that, you know, special ed is known. It's not. That's the one. That's a narrative that has to stay out there. Special ed number is not known, no matter how, like you said, no matter how much you reviewed it. The next day, 3 kids move in, 3 kids move out. So that's why I keep coming back to the special ed line item. It's not a known. We say that every year. We say it to tell them it could go so much higher. But listen, it also could go lower. So it's not a known. This is a tough one, but I know they have done a great job. But if I'm not mistaken, there are 3 full-time teachers that are still working as curriculum leaders. 2. Okay. It's somewhere that you could look at. I understand how important curriculum is and how important aligning curriculum is, but desperate times, desperate measures. So it would be an avenue that I at least would look at. Somebody brought up Alliance District. So I guess the thought there is, could that be a legal avenue with the underfunding? Enough, you know, we're an Alliance District, we're actually more than that, I think. Could that be a legal avenue to look at? Is, look, this is further proof that we're being underfunded. So somebody's got, it's at Griswold, $40 per child insurance for Chromebook, and yeah, shaking her head. That's $36,000 that we could get if we charged our kids $40 per student for insurance when they destroy the Chromebooks. You know,
we do charge that.
I'm sorry?
We do charge that.
We charge
to fix them.
Everyone, only charge them in the instance they break down.
Well, no, this is $40 per student. No, you don't opt out of it. It's insurance in case it gets destroyed. And that's what Griswold's doing.
Pay that to get that. They did that in Killingly too.
Yep.
You had to pay
So
to get your
that's local districts doing.
You do?
Yeah, that's local districts doing something. You know,
so my kids aren't allowed to take them home. They stay in the classroom, but I am so hard to insurance fee every year.
You know, citizens comment earlier, Mr. O'Neill asking about, you know, what's mandated, what's not. You know, I'm curious if he built his house to minimum codes. We don't, that's what we're talking about here. If they're looking to fight for only what's mandated, they're saying they only want to do the absolute minimum for our children. And that's ridiculous. And that's what's been killing our town as it goes. Desperate time. Legal, I absolutely, you got to look at the legal options here. You have to, everyone. And Tom, I've been playing voice tag with Senator Gordon all week. I texted him trying to get together about education. Maybe, you know, if he's got time to sit down, I'll go see if you want to join us. So, all right. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
On the question of special education, in previous years, we budgeted a certain amount, and then it ended up coming up higher than we expected or something like that. That delta between the expected and what we actually ended up spending, why can't we treat that delta as potentially in either direction? just say that that delta is not as the undemographic. So we could say it's less than that. So you could say it's the expected minus that delta instead of expected plus the delta. Because the variability is not necessarily in only one direction.
Oh, I was actually, sorry. No, I just wanted to comment in regards to sort of budgeting. I think that
I need your name and address.
Koenig, 77 Spicer. Sorry about that. Is that in reviewing budgets and trying to compare other towns, it is very challenging to understand where the money is going, especially when you're looking at last year's budget, which was, 19 million, and this one was, another additional 2 million. It's hard to understand sort of where that is, or what those costs are attributed to. And I think unfortunately this year, because of the capital projects associated with the school, I think there were a lot of voters that said, well, we already voted to increase the mill rate because of the school. And I think there's a confluence of people not wanting the mill rate to go up more. And so you have a higher budget, this year with the school. And I think clarifying budget and line items, I think goes a long way, because I look to that documentation a lot to tell me sort of where the fund's going and what's new and what's not. So I think clarity in that regard is very helpful, not like just miscellaneous other for a high amount. I don't know what that is. So I think that is hard. But I just wanted to say, if you can improve clarity on the budget, that would greatly help, especially where the funds are going, and especially when there's a large increase. I think that helps to get voter support. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, can I just ask this? So we have a communication subcommittee which puts out, did you know, and there's a lot of facts that are in there, such as where the budget's going, which parts are being funded, unfunded, you name it. Heather did a great job coordinating, herding all of us, putting this out, and then we would approve it. Maybe we're not communicating it in the right avenues. Okay, so for instance, Facebook, flyers at the town transfer station.
For the vote.
It was also in Shopper's Guide. What are some of the other avenues? Where can we put this so people are educated?
School website. School website, if that's possible. Sounds like maybe.
Okay, so hold that for 1 second.
The town website a lot.
We can't do that.
Well, but can't you, as the Board of Ed, put on the school website?
This is our frustration. Okay, it's a whole. This is our frustration, because as soon as we put it somewhere, we have to get literally legal counsel to tell us yes you can, yes you can't, which is ridiculous. I totally agree with you. So that's why our hands are kind of tied as to how or where do we put this without having FOI and Bill Warner's group and Paul Bear.
Did you notice you can go on there, but they can't tell you about
be told how to
budgets and
but
yeah.
All the did you knows, because I'm not on Facebook much either.
Yeah.
And especially this time of year.
No, but the things are just factoids, and that's just did you know there's a Board of Education meeting on Tuesday? Did you know the soccer team scored 10 points?
If there's Board of Education, if there's the information on the Board of Education and it links to the town website, that would even be an improvement, because I think I do utilize the town website, which is completely horrible to navigate. It is impossible. So I will often look for documentation. And after about 5 minutes, I gotta give up because it's hard. But if the link from the school website can bring you directly to where it is on the town, or I don't know. I think that connecting those dots might help people that I don't use social media really. So
well, we can email you the Board of Ed agenda. We don't do that now. We can easily do that so that every parent gets the Board of Ed agenda.
Can we email them the did you knows as well?
Yes.
We could include that in your usual
Maybe
communication.
that's
updates.
part of the communication piece then.
So
A link to the Board of Ed meetings, how they recorded.
They are recorded, they're supposed to be posted,
The
right?
Zoom links are on the agenda and they're linked on the town web, on the school website. Plus there's a link for the YouTube because they're also all posted on YouTube. They're all recorded. They're all recorded.
and this is not to be defensive to
That's a
us
good thing to
because
know.
That would be another good.
being on this board and running for this board, I've sat in lots and lots of the meetings in the audience as well. And this board over the last 10 or 12 years that I've been attending these meetings has done their absolute best to be transparent and get information out. And so it's not for a lack of trying. And so hearing the feedback of, well, I don't use Facebook, or here, we want to know the avenues. I just, and like I said, I'm not trying to be defensive. I think we appreciate wanting to know how can we help you help us, so this is good, and we're doing our best to be transparent. It's never been an issue in the board meetings, but open communication is just it's a modern issue.
Sorry, I don't want to look at a turn if anybody else wants to go, but remember that big Easter egg hunt thing we did? We could have reached out there. There was so many kids there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are we able to do a parent liaison like we do a student liaison? That they could funnel it from, like they could attend the meetings and then funnel it, but not really give board members?
That's what I do on PTO.
Okay, so
we
you
put it all out on every single PTO Facebook post that we have out there. I'm sure we're probably going to get nailed by somebody complaining that we're lobbying, although as a 501(c)(3), I do have the opportunity to lobby as long as I'm not spending the bulk of my budget on it, which posting it to Facebook costs me $0. So
Yeah, but I mean,
to cover my bases.
Yeah, but here's a very good point.
Right.
Looking at like the Easter egg hunt, like
Right.
at some point you've also got to, how do we kind of keep, some events still fun and not be a political
and not
avenue, so I mean, there's a fine line.
We have a Zoom member who wants to
openly think
be recognized. George, go ahead.
Oh, he's okay.
Coming. Okay, can you hear me? Thank you, Chair, for recognizing me. And it's been an enlightening 3 hours or more listening to this commission in its deliberations. I want to compliment the commissioners for their candid comments to everyone, all 80 of us out here in cyberspace, as well as I don't know how many are in the room. A couple of observations and comments. First, I don't know everyone on the commission, so it would be helpful either if you have name tags or when you speak like citizens that you say who you are. Just remind us. I can't see it. It's just maybe 8-inch letters. Good point, Mr. I think you're Mr. Angelo. So thank you for that. Especially the, hyperbole is also appreciated. I can also appreciate earlier that it was observed by a number of individuals in this commission that we don't have a lot of money. We don't have business in our town. We don't have a tax base and all those elements, right? And that goes to a fundamental issue that I think we sometimes overlook, and perhaps get caught up in the angst that's being felt here, is that if you don't have money, you can't spend it. So that's the challenge, right? And you have a student population that's declining at best, probably. You have a tax base that's not increasing and costs that are inflating. So it's a dilemma, it's a squeeze. There's no easy solutions. So I can empathize with that. I would ask also that if any materials that you seem to be referencing materials, either tell the online folks where they are so that we can take a look at the same things, because I'm trying to follow and you seem to be following notes, and perhaps it's something that's online, but that'd be great to have. And finally, I was somewhat disappointed. I mean, you're all adults that, vilifying, pillaring, excoriating other commissions, and specifically the Board of Finance for their tough decisions, which I listened to a number of their deliberations, comes across as being unprofessional. And No, I get it. You're not necessarily trained in this. No, I doubt that any of you are trained as finance people. If they are, it didn't come across. But I would suggest that you try to refrain from doing that. Resist the temptation to blame it on someone else. It's like a sailor on an ocean, you know, the wind's coming from the west. You can curse it all you want, but it's not going to change. So tighten it up, change your course, put down more sail, whatever it takes. And I think that message is there. So those are my observations, and I thank you for the opportunity to express them. Thank you.
Kathleen?
Kathleen?
Val, I did want to pass on some information, especially for Sean, because you asked. I remember this post. So in February, the end of February, Governor Lamont proposed, he sent to the legislature a English Learners Bill of Rights to safeguard the provision of bilingual education. And it is actually bill number, because it talks about boards of eds and funding and all that stuff. It's House Bill number 6663, an act establishing the English Learners Bill of Rights.
6633?
6663.
Too many sixes.
So it was sent to the Education Committee, and it's being under consideration, and it outlines the whole thing. So if you look that up, you'll clearly understand where he's coming from the leader of our state relative to bilingual education in schools.
And the House passed it.
Excuse me?
The House passed it. It's in the Senate now.
It's in the Senate now?
And it's just to be fully funded by the state?
No.
It doesn't. It does say, it does make a great effort, Tom. It does give a little statistics. In Connecticut, more than 50% of our student population now identifies as non-white. Additionally, more than 45,000 or 8.8% of our students are identified as English learners. This is why English learners, the Bill of Rights is so important at the time. So it's something you might want to look up if you want to get a little bit versed on it and see if they have any money coming.
Nice.
Maybe you can ask Mr. Gordon.
Yeah.
Yeah. English Learner Bill of Rights.
Can I speak, Kathleen?
Yes, you may.
Okay. Danielle Carlson. All right. So, you all heard it here first. You heard what somebody's judgment was on low numbers and this, that, and the other thing. We all know that this school is operating the best it can. And that is somebody's opinion, but it's a very loud opinion. And that's where we have to have our opinions and our votes be louder than. You guys heard it here first. Second thing I'm going to address, I got on this board because I was sick and tired of budgets not passing. So this isn't a new thing in Thompson. It's been happening a long time. And our goal as a board is to stop this. But with that being said, the budget's being cut. There's some phenomenal kids coming up and through and out of this school. And I don't want you guys to lose focus of that and think that your kids are not going to get a phenomenal education. My daughter did. She graduated. She's working in Mrs. Brissette's room right now as para till she goes off and does her thing. She came back and she's loving it. She's a college graduate. She graduated with honors. Her boyfriend graduated with honors. He was a Turtle alumni and from 2019. And that year we couldn't pass a referendum 5 times. So the thing is, don't lose hope, you know, but we need you guys and we need you to be out in voting, but out in supporting us too, and being the next voices, because we can't let their voices outvoice our voices, because this is your kids' future. It's our future. So just remember that, please. Don't lose the faith, but just get out, vote on the 13th. That's the first next step that we need to tackle. And then we go from there.
Yes.
I, Amy Hexton Road, here as a taxpayer, here as a teacher, here as a former parent. This is my 24th year. Year 1 in this district was the same way. Every year I come to the meetings, every year. Now I can do Zoom if I can't make them, or I watch them online. So thank you, Ted. It's a constant battle. Going to the budget meetings, going to the finance meetings. Seeing the finance people shaking their heads, yes, they understand when we are advocating, especially at that last one, where we tried to put more money back in and we were still refused. They sit there and they think that they're supporting us, but when it comes time to vote, it was always the negative way. And
it's disheartening, but don't give up the fight for the new ones that are in the battleground. I invite anybody to come to my classroom. COVID restrictions are up. Okay, see what we struggle with. I have one of the smallest budgets. Yeah, I teach 5 different classes and 5 different classes. I have books from 1997. And yet I have that little budget. So get out there, do what you can. June 13th is the last day of school. Parent lineup from elementary. You go right to the polling.
Yep.
And then that's all I can encourage. I can't advocate, but we could try to get kids out again. And going back to what Tara said, at the Quinnebog one, yes, he was under the tent. We didn't have students there. I went by the one that was over at the town hall, and they did have the kids coming in. So people didn't know because of the location of the tent to come over and do the exit poll. There are towns in Connecticut that put on the budget, and that's something that we need to think about. When they vote, are you voting because you think it's too high or too low? Get it on the ballot so we get valid info and data to work with, as opposed to an exit poll that's not well established out there.
Excellent.
I just have one comment, a quick one.
Who are you?
Heather Santos. I'm the one who often organizes all the volunteers at polling places and standing at the base of the hill and all of that sort of business. So if anybody, I have nobody on the list. So if anybody wants to stand with a vote yes sign at any polling place and all that sort of stuff, I'll be there. Please let me know so that we can.
I don't know, the unicorn failed us this last time, so I got a tiger in my trunk.
So this is my little, I alluded to it earlier. I ran this board many times before sitting here. I started by going to a Board of Finance meeting and coming out outraged at an arbitrary cut. Oh, well, we'll just cut $100,000. Like, what do you mean? And so I was talking to a Board of Finance member as we were leaving the library, and he said, well, why don't you do something about it? So here I am, folks. You don't have to run for a board, but it's time. That's how I started. And, you know, they pay me great to be here. But I appreciate, you know, the opportunity to be here, and I appreciate having been voted for. And I look forward to keep doing this, but it's very difficult. But you know, we need the support. I also started by being on the PTO in elementary school, and it was also when I was on, it was the same 4 or 5 people in the PTO, and I didn't continue into middle school on the PTO, but it was always the same 4 or 5 people, and at some point it's got to be more. And
elementary is growing, but we need to be bigger.
So that's my plea. I'm begging for, you know, more involvement from parents. But you don't even have to be parents. You can, well, to be on the PTO you do, but I mean to be involved. To be involved, you know, it doesn't take any special qualifications. So thank you.
And to Mr. O'Neill's comment, I can count on 2 fingers on the Board of Finance that have any financial background.
Yep. My only comment, vote. Yes. Take your spouse, take your adult children who are registered, who are living with you. If your kids are not registered and they're of age, get them registered. If you live in town and you are not registered, get registered. We don't have the ability to sit back anymore.
Get involved with your town.
And that's it.
It's important. Our town is important. Get involved. And with that, I'll call for a motion to.
I'll make the motion, Kathleen.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.